3 hours of Fortnite facts. At the dog pound, you could find Snoop's boss chair. However, this used to be where Midas sat at the end of the table. To pay tribute to the man who came before him, there's a small red button on the desk. If you hit it, a clever callback to the iconic Spy Season theme from 4 years ago. Right next to Snoop's chair, you'll find another custom design. This time it says 999 on it, a beautiful tribute to Juice WRLD. It was his favorite number and even had it tattooed on his body. Not to mention, this chair is actually the only one in the room that is indestructible. One of the craziest plot twists has been the release of Cruella de Vil, and fans have been wondering why she looks so different. Well, she doesn't have a spotted coat. Instead, it's striped for an R-rated reason. Remember Oscar, the tiger from season 1? A lot of people were wondering what happened to him after the society was defeated, and well, it looks like Cruella turned him into her new coat. You don't want to get on her bad side, and the same goes for Ice Spice. When you talk to her NPC, there's a chance she'll want to hug you. If you deny her, she says, "Oh, it's like that?" and you're gonna regret that. Maybe she wants to high-five you instead. Well, don't leave her hanging, otherwise she'll take it personally. Wow, I know you didn't just deny me. And Ice Spice isn't the only difference with this Chapter 2 alternate reality. For the first time ever, Fortnite has secretly changed helipads. Now, instead of the classic H logo, the Sharks helipad has been given a butterfly symbol instead. An extremely popular icon series in 2024 was Shaquille O'Neal, and his set was jam-packed full of secret references. The shimmy emote seems pretty basic at first, but when you look closely, it's actually a recreation of Shaq's iconic GIF. Something similar happened in the Marvel Battle Pass. On P.O. Verine's page, you can unlock an emoticon that might be the only time people will ever use these things. That's because it's a reference to the classic Wolverine picture from the X-Men show, except he's fondly remembering a banana, of course. In that same season, you could find the weirdest Easter egg in the map. Underneath Doomstat, players discovered a secret room belonging to the world's biggest Iron Man fan. They were obsessed with Tony Stark, from cardboard cutouts of him to posters and memorabilia. I'm really hoping this is a teenager, because if not, it's a little worrying. In fact, they are probably an adult, because if you look at their old school TV, it is secretly showing Marvel vs. Capcom. Pretty old game by now. I like to think one of the Epic employees loved this game so much, they designed a whole Easter egg room just to include it, but then you realize they designed an entire boss around it. While Doombot was defending his castle, you could fight him for some loot, but he would pull out some goofy looking moves. Gotta admit, when we all started fighting Doombot, I don't think anyone expected to be on the receiving end of a foot dive. But this is a real thing Doom has done before. It's taken straight from Marvel vs. Capcom 3, so clearly Epic adores this franchise. And they also seem to love The Nightmare Before Christmas. When this collab dropped, everyone was in love with it, so they brought it back for a part 2 with Sally and the Pumpkin King. Except when playing as the Pumpkin King at nighttime, it unlocks an amazing detail, intended or not. If you look at a wall, the light from his pumpkin will shine through the cutouts and create a face on the wall. It only happens because Fortnite's lighting is so realistic. In fact, it was probably a total accident, and you could even see it while aiming down your sights. Sally has an incredible secret too. To the average player, you look at her back bling and realize, well, it's just a frog in a cauldron. Pretty quirky, but nothing too crazy. Well, for anyone who truly loves the film, you'll recognize that this moment is taken from a 10-second clip in the movie.
Overpowered any odor.
Back in the remix season, the most talked about addition has to be lowriders. Everyone loves them. Not because they're fast or get you out of the storm in an emergency, we don't really care about that. It's because they're just so fun. In fact, the game encourages you to drive slow. Stay under 20 miles an hour, turn on the radio, and the car will dance for you. Did you know that Fortnite Remix has a Kobe Bryant Easter egg? That's right, over in Snoop's set, this Music Pass skin is the iconic rapper from 1993. It was the year his debut album dropped, and LBC stands for Long Beach, California, where he grew up. The real secret is when you look at his jersey, and it's got the same colors as the LA Lakers, and when you equip the padded style, you can see the number 24, famously worn by Kobe Bryant. Respect to Snoop for paying tribute to him. Heading back to Castle Doom, you could find a ridiculous amount of secrets, like this random horn in a glass case. Most people would shrug this off as a plain old castle decoration, but this actually belongs to Namor, the anti-hero who most recently appeared in Black Panther 2. Now, it's not a simple nod to the character, it goes even further with a hilarious joke. This being in Castle Doom is an amazing reference to a comic panel. In it, Doom is told not to toot Namor's horn, but of course, Dr. Doom toots as he pleases. It was even an achievement in the previous Marvel season if you used the Battle Call emote as Doom. Fun facts get even more hilarious though, like when Rubius was added to the Icon series. He's the latest YouTuber to join, but he might be the first one to notice something about themselves because of a Fortnite skin. I guess Epic made it too realistic.
Juan clava también, tío. ¿Eh? Me acabo de dar cuenta de que tengo el mismo. ¿Desde cuándo tengo esto? Que me han hecho un lunar que ni siquiera yo sabía que existía. ¡Ah!
Moving back to Snoop Dogg, he probably has one of the most random Easter eggs in years. It's been a long time since we got to see characters like the Seven, and yet they're right here in the doghouse. Well, Snoop displays his records everywhere, but when you get close enough, you can see their artwork. Not only does the cover show Columbo staring right at you, but the other one shows the Visitor. Yeah, this is technically the first appearance of the Seven in years. Although we have seen Columbo lately, just not in VR. They're in the LEGO mode now, both in brick form and their regular design, so left players wondering what happens if you bring the LEGO version to the VR one. Well, let's just say it might be the most adorable Easter egg in Fortnite history. Someone else with a different return is Midas, who has been transformed into Meowtis for Remix, and fans have been complaining that it's totally missing the golden touch. Well, I investigated, and that's not exactly true. Turns out Meowtis secretly has a new version of the power. When you pick an item up, it'll turn into this weird gray color, but as you get a limbs with it, it'll slowly transform gold. This is actually Meowtis' wrap that gets applied, and it stays on the gun once you drop it. The first time Epic has ever changed the golden touch like this. Nice. So earlier I just mentioned how Shaq's emote was an amazing secret, but it's not the only hilarious meme to be referenced. Turns out his other dance is just as funny. You catch it? It's a recreation of the viral clip where Shaq is DJing. But if you go into the edit styles and take off his hat, even Shaq's headphones are worn the same way he does in the clip. You have to admire the dedication. Now, I ask you to draw your attention over to one of Remix's nostalgic POIs, Dirty Docks. Let me tell you, Epic messed up. While updating the map, it looks like one of the developers accidentally changed the landscape again. Happened last season where a random hill appeared out of nowhere, leading fans to nickname it Hillbird. Well, fans have already jumped on this new mistake, calling it Holbird. As for the Battle Pass skins in Remix, you've probably seen Undercover Sky. If you ignore the outfit and take a look at her pickaxe, it is way more popular. This is the epic Blade of Floof, and instead of merging together the Sky and Guff axes, they literally tape them together. Talk about a DIY mashup. It's not the only cosmetic to receive the mix-up treatment. Once you unlock Meowtis' emote, it is gonna look super familiar. Yeah, this is the perfect crossover between the Pandemonium Walk from Chapter 2 and Meowscles' classic pawing dance. It's not the only surprising mashup. In the Marvel season, we got Ghost Rider, which became a total meme in itself. Looking past that, most people assume this was based on Johnny Blaze, the most popular version. Except looking at his suit, Durburger is actually wearing Robbie Reyes' costume. Personally, I love the amazing joke during the Marvel season announcement. Obviously, everyone memes the MCU for having non-stop post-credit scenes, so when Fortnite dropped their Season 4 blog post, they had to capitalize on the joke. While reading what's new in Season 4, you'll reach the end and see a huge gap. But keep scrolling, and there's a post-credit scene in the blog just to talk about Reload. Moving forward to the Remix map, we finally got to break into classic vaults again, except some of them were hiding pretty random secrets. After taking out Dynamo TNT at the rig, you could grab her keycard and access the vault. Not only did you get a ton of loot, but pay attention to the golden artifacts in the corner. Hidden away on the shelf is a Fall Guys bead. Where did she get this? One of the best updates was Fortnitemares 2024, where we were all shocked by the reveal of Billy the Puppet. We finally had Saw in Fortnite, and this collab was full of secrets, like when you equip the TV back bling, because every time you got an elimination, Billy loves it. Since you're playing as him, you can hardly notice that every kill makes his eyes glow. And if you visited Jigsaw's trap in Freaky Fields, he said the iconic line.
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
Personally, I love the Easter egg in the aforementioned Lego Klombo update because, well, Epic described the Tomato Head cult with a reference to the biggest parody song in Fortnite history. Maybe they arrived after Tomato Town was wiped out, or maybe they've been here before Tomato Town was even a thing. So I guess this song is part of canon now.
Just wiped out Tomato Town.
But if you pay attention to leaks, you'll know that fans have been waiting for the Light It Up emote for months. It was one of those unreleased cosmetics that we never thought would happen, except when it finally dropped, we realized it had a different meaning all along. Yeah, this Rift Butterfly was circling the lamp just like a moth, but this released on the day of Remix because Epic were actually teasing how the Rift would take us to another reality. How cool is that? Not the only insane little detail hiding. Everyone knows there's pets in the game, but my favorite of all is Mary Munchkin, who has a tiny chance to dab when you get an elim, or even smoke a candy cane. Still not as cool as John Wick, who got a new style 4 years later. It's based off the 4th movie with a full black outfit, but did you realize he's missing a finger? A nice tribute to the films. There's also insane detail at Chapter 5's train stations. Because each area of the map is set in different regions of Europe, the announcements are in real languages like French, German, and even Greek. And if you've been using cluster clingers and wondered what makes them so powerful, it's because they're actual grenades. They're almost identical to the ones we all know, except for the big red button on top, just shrunk down and strapped to the plunger. And if you've been using Peter Griffin's set recently, fans of the show will recognize the origin of his pickaxe. He used to sell them at the ballpark, and we all know what it's for.
Butt scratcher! Butt scratcher! Get your butt scratcher here!
But if you head over to Reckless Railways to explore, one piece of graffiti shows the cubes. This isn't a normal spray in the game, so either Epic is teasing something, or it's just a nod to the past. If you're playing Chapter 5 and trying to find a skin in your locker, you might be wondering why Peely looks like this. Well, that's because he went missing this season. It's even updated the locker to be a missing poster of him. Most contrails are usually pretty normal, but some of them go the extra mile. Equip the Sky Scratch Dive, and because it's Oscars, you'll be able to spot tiger eyes glaring at you through the shadows. The Creeping Cardboard also got updated for Chapter 5, and now it's a gray box for oranges. Maybe you're confused why? Well, it is actually taken directly from Metal Gear Solid for Snake's arrival to the game. One of the coolest parts of the season is the underground hideouts. Not only are they stacked with loot, but pay attention to the whiteboards here. As each boss around the map gets eliminated, they're crossed out with a red X. If you'd rather chill out on Fortnite Festival, have you heard about the secret stage? There's one hidden on the beach under the pier, and another where you'll have to do parkour all the way to the roof of Megaplex. Sometimes Epic puts attention into the tiniest things, like which side of the road to drive on. For 6 years, the signs around the map have indicated that people drive on the right-hand side. But when they added Mega City from Japan, they made sure the cars drove on the left. But one of the least used Marvel skins has an insane secret. Zoom into MJ's outfit and you'll spot this Black Dahlia necklace, the same one Peter gives to her in the movie, and it's even broken to replicate it. When the Full Tilt emote released, we all knew it was a reference to Naruto, but if your language is set to Spanish, it's actually called No Running. Yeah, it couldn't be more obvious. Unlike another emote which hides the entire map. Reality Master was released for the end of Chapter 3, showing the island in the bubble, but if you zoom in, you can see they actually detailed both sides of the map, with Chapter 2 still corrupted from the cubes. And if you paid close attention during the Fracture event, you might have spotted the most OG detail in the entire game. As Paradigm flies through space, you can spot some players running along Cuddle Team Leader's head, a great homage to Fortnite's original logo. Even getting a phone call in Fortnite has more detail than you'd imagine. Listen closely to the ringtone in the Busy emote. Sound familiar? It's pretty hard to notice, but it's actually the same song from Tidy. One of the shortest lived details is only around for a season. At Faulty Splits, you can find the old bowling scoreboard from the last people that played, but these aren't any ordinary names. They're actually all Fortnite devs that put themselves there as an Easter egg. And for players who paid attention all the way back in 2018, even the shipping containers had a small secret. Normally, they look like this, but just for Fortnite mares, they changed their graffiti to a zombie. Now let's bring our attention to Verity. She's a pretty recent skin, but has a detail that has confused everyone. She has a spy earpiece. It is the same one used by Midas's crew, and the artist revealed it was specially requested by Donald Mustard, with more details being revealed in the future. Sometimes they like to leave hints to the past, because when we all landed in Chapter 2 for the first time, only 1% of players realized the middle island was in the shape of the OG Chapter 1 map. Some details are brand new, like anytime you equip a DMR, aim down the scope, and your character will actually close their other eye. You'd never even notice this. But did you know it was possible to see Groot in the game over a year before he was even in the Battle Pass? Star-Lord's backbling seems like a standard Guardian alien's jetpack, but look closely and you'll see a mini Groot keychain on it. There's also tiny secrets hidden on weapons. Everyone loved the recon scanner back in Season 7, but I bet you didn't notice the tiny screen that counted the number of players in the area you marked. You also had to notice that Thunder is missing something to understand his secret. It's based off a kaiju like Godzilla, so you'd expect to see a tail, but take a look at his set and you'll find it's been chopped off to use as a pickaxe. A truly hilarious detail could only be found in Retail Row. During the war between the spy factions, they set up undercover stores for ghost flowers and shadow lamps. The only issue is they were neighbors, so they were spying right through the walls, vents, and even telescopes. You can find even weirder encounters in Chapter 4. One of these random rift spawns was a chicken with Tender Defender looking after him. Except these were loot chickens glowing with items. So if you really couldn't resist free loot, killing them would make him cry. Now, there's even some cool Easter eggs on the ATK. This is only the second vehicle to be added, but still featured a Durr Burger and Tomato Head as a mirror accessory, alongside a golf bag full of pickaxes instead of clubs. But there is one detail that most people have never even seen. Cameo is one of the skins in Chapter 2's first Battle Pass, but people always wondered what her reactive feature was. Turns out if you're using the base style and aim down sights, her glasses display will light up. And on their 6th birthday, Fortnite updated something for the first time since release. Usually we all thank the bus driver as you drop into a match, but if you did it during the event, you wished them a happy birthday. If you played the Marvel season, you probably unlocked Jennifer Walters, and when you use her emote to transform into She-Hulk, she actually takes off her glasses. So what's the best part? Well, when you change back, she is still missing them until she puts them back on. So if you cancel it midway, she's stuck without them. Not the only interesting accessory, because Colby is actually a VR player. She has the mask, headphones, and her pickaxes are the controller. She even equips them from her back bling, which is a console. There's so many secret details with skins that most people didn't realize Piper Pace's hidden meaning. Her base style is obviously Pizza Pit, but Hyperspace is inspired by Slurp drinks, and Hazardous is based on Guzzle Juice. And if Tomato Head's Pizza was your favorite, you probably paid respects to the restaurant before it left in Chapter 1. As a rift appeared to take away the iconic statue, Islanders left picket signs around saying their farewells. Omega also says goodbye when he's eliminated. Since he has a bunch of LED lights all over his suit, when he gets taken out, they'll actually turn off. Not the only character who had something taken away. If you dropped at the yacht in Chapter 2, Midas's statue actually had glasses on. Turns out these are planned for him until the last minute when Donald and the team decided to cut them from his character, but I guess they forgot about the statue. At least he was given one of the coolest features in the entire game, the ability to turn any weapon gold. Although some of the old ones have never been tested, and that's why no one knows about the 24-karat Infinity Blade. LeBron James has 3 outfits in the game right now, but if you take a closer look at the Toon Squad and Taco styles, his designs have been replaced with Fortnite references. There's a pickaxe, the cubes, and a battle bus in a rift. Even the words, "We can build it." And if you ever wondered what this code meant on Jonesy's prison outfit, we have actually seen it before. Rewatch the trailer for Chapter 2 Season 5, and you can spot the same number on a door outside his office. Sometimes Epic goes all out on collabs, like Boba Fett's hidden reactivity. Aim down sights with the skin equipped, and you'll see his rangefinder come down and activate, just like in the movies. There's also emotes that have a bunch of details, like Pick Me, which comes with its own school desk. Just like in real life, there's scribbles all over it, a game of tic-tac-toe, a message from Peely, and even someone crushing on Jonesy. By the time Zero Crisis happened, most people had forgotten about Season 5, but Epic actually hid a secret from a previous trailer. When Kratos was introduced, he scared off Mancake in the cinematic, and it took the whole season for them to eventually fight. There's some pretty strange weapons in the game, but a stinkfish has gotta be one of the weirdest. These are actually based on blobfish in real life, and some of the variants look like a clown and whale. If you prefer a drink instead, grab a Slurp Juice, and you'll find a secret hiding in plain sight. Zoom in real close, and the glass actually has markings saying Le Jar, so I guess it's fancy or something. We've all spotted the references in the Season 7 trailer, from Crackshot's back bling to the ornaments in the tree, but there's even more here that hardly anyone noticed. Like a Rift to Go snow globe, a home is where the fort is framed, and even the fact that the gingerbread are designed after Mary Marauder. Sometimes the design is actually a feature. Relic's back bling had people wondering if the map worked. Well, good news, the signal tracer arrow actually reacts to the direction you're turning towards. Even lobby poses have a hidden reference now. You're probably familiar with Agent Jones's iconic stance with his fists together, but this is actually taken from OG Jonesy's featured image in Chapter 1. When the island flooded in Chapter 2, Ocean knocks out Brutus in the trailer and takes his helmet, which she then keeps as an edit style for her own skin. But one place you don't want to look is in Tilted's toilets. Inside the cubicles, you can can find a reference to the husks from Save the World on the wipe dispenser. Well, clearly someone isn't using it. Look at this mess. Yuck. If you want to clean your eyes after that, turn your attention over to some art instead. The Starry Night glider is meant to be a stolen painting, but it's actually based off a real piece by Vincent van Gogh. Only this time, it's Tilted Towers. Still not the coolest real-life item in the game, because Cade's outfit features a retro gaming controller. The gauntlet on his left hand is inspired by the old Nintendo Power Glove. There's countless references and designs taken from the real world, and the same goes for the Nitro Fang. It's a mashup of an old Ford Mustang and AMC Javelin to form Fortnite's own getaway car. Epic got the Terminator collab spot on, replicating Sarah Connor directly, even her knife is on the belt. So when you equip the pickaxe, it actually takes it from the sheath. One of the tiniest landmarks was so loved by the community, it once got its own update. Chapter 2 added Grumpy Greens, a set of bushes as an angry face. So when reality waves hit, turning the place primal, they changed to rocks with a new name, Grumpy Gravel. Speaking of being turned to stone, Lyra is a modern-day version of Medusa, and her sweater looks like she had a run-in with Agent Jones, turning him to Stonesy. If you want more evidence, just look at the back bling. And did you know there was a secret magazine in-game? Deadpool's trailer revealed to us that Fortnite has its own version of Vogue, and Agent Peely actually won Banana of the Year. Better keep an eye out for Santa's Reindeer too, because even though Dolph looks friendly, he has got a candy cane gun in his holster. Not gonna lie, I would love to see this become an actual weapon one day. One thing I don't want to see is Meowscles butt naked. A poster in Mega City showed him flexing behind a bush with nothing on. Even his suspenders are gone. The Backtracker backbling doesn't give you an advantage with the storm circles, but you do have to appreciate the effort of updating this to the new map every chapter. This even happened during OG. One of the saddest changes to the island happened when Deadpool took over the yacht. Sure, it was a great party and full of Easter eggs, but what happened to Meowscles? He basically got thrown out and given the cardboard box factory instead, and you can even find him crying. But if you're more of a dog person, Wendell is the skin for you. His idle animation really brings him to life by panting, scratching, and just acting like man's best friend. Not the only skin to pay attention to in the item shop, because when Diamond Hands first released, you can see the Fortnite stock market in the background. Look in closely and you'll see companies like Durburger, Softies, and even Victory Motors. They're all doing pretty well apart from Kevolution Energy, which has dropped by 999%. But there's a crazy secret with one of the most common skins in the game. If you own Lara Croft and talk to the Aura NPC at Crude Harbor, you'll get a special line of dialogue where she calls you a legend, because she's a treasure hunter too. And some players that were fans of the Eevee skin in Season 3 were disappointed when her wrap didn't make the dual pistols blue and red like the concept art. It was the whole point of her skin even appearing in her back bling. So people logged into the next update, they were surprised to see Epic had fixed it, a great tribute secret that you could only see with dual weapons. You probably realized by now that Epic put so much effort into things people barely even see. When the Foundation was revealed as the Rock, he did the iconic eyebrow raise. It's even his built-in emote. But to make it authentic, Epic had to add additional bones in his model just for his eyebrow. Back in Chapter 1 and 2, you can find sections on the road set up with a speed trap. Go past the speedometer, and it would actually track your speed, whether you're walking, running, or even driving a vehicle. Just make sure it isn't the battle bus, because when it crashed in the Fortnite trailer all the way back in 2018, that really happened. When everyone jumped in game, you can find the bus and balloon crashed into a field near Lazy Links. And it's even better when Epic pays attention to detail with collabs. When Star Wars returned for another crossover, we were amazed to see Luke, Leia, and Han arrive in the shop, but switch styles between Luke's farmer and Jedi Knight style. Not only does he lose his hand, but he even changes from Anakin's lightsaber to his own one. Not the only Star Wars secret in the game. Equip Obi-Wan, wait in the lobby, and eventually you'll see him do his iconic Jedi mind trick from the movies.
You don't need to see his identification.
One place Epic loves to hide secrets is during live events, and if you pay close attention during the Chapter 2 finale, you could see text on the screen. Dedicated players actually translated it to details about Jones, like his name, offense, and even his penalty being termination. Still not as hidden as Hacksawer's pickaxe detail. Each time you hit an object, the screens will turn red with a warning sign, breaking the coding. That's a lot less damage than Jones was during the Zero Crisis finale. We all saw him fall from the bus and take 99 damage, but this means he then fought Xenomorph, Terminators, and even the Foundation all at 1 HP. If you own the Amazing Cube emote, take a closer look at the puzzle. This is no normal Rubik's Cube, but instead of the classic colors, the tiles are painted purple, gold, and blue, like all of the cubes. During the Marvel season, Epic had so many Easter eggs that everyone missed the Berserker Barrage Spray, named after Wolverine's power ability in the Marvel vs. Capcom games. Some collabs are hidden behind normal skins. Joy was a community concept that made it into the game, but by surprise, she got a built-in emote playing Doja Cat. It's even crazier when you realize this is the only normal outfit to have a built-in Icon Series dance. Not the only concept secret though, because Nana Buddy was actually designed by someone in the community before being given out as a crew bonus. The full set was made by Denny and even contained a monkey skin that fans are still hoping to see. But only a handful of players got to see the secret minigame that was only added for 48 hours. During the Black Hole, you can enter the Konami code and play a Pizza Pit version of Space Invaders to pass the time. And if you missed the old map, just equip the Eco skin, which is filled with memories. From Dusty Depot getting hit by the meteor to Loot Lake's destruction, even his legs are the different biomes. It's no surprise creators wanted to add the same level of detail to their own skins, and that's why if you look closely at Cypher's glider, you'll see this bow. It is the same one tied to his microphone, and it's all because his wife gave it to him when they first met. But one of the craziest details on the skin wasn't discovered for almost 4 years. Sash Sargent was released all the way back in Chapter 1, but it wasn't until recently that people noticed every badge on his outfit is a real scout badge. One of the most popular Fortnite Mares collabs is Michael Myers, and if you equip his famous knife, it's exactly what you'd expect. But use it on a player and you'll get the iconic slasher sound. Kato's modern hotels from Chapter 4 also have some great details. If you look at the paintings, you can see things like the cubes, Mega City, and even the Herald. But did you ever notice the special design on Season 7 planes? Cuddle Team Leader is on the side of the Storm Wing, and this is actually a clever throwback to old warplanes in real life. They even have a picture on the dashboard. Sometimes details are a complete accident. Back in the early days, Epic would just retexture an entire skin, which is exactly what happened for ones like Skull Trooper and Rex. But if you look carefully, you begin to notice they're not wearing sleeves, it's skin paint. And some people still don't know how accurate Fortnite is, even with the smallest things. From tiny spaces between objects to little holes in the wall, you could actually shoot through any of them. But you'd have to be an OG to remember the hidden stickers on the battle bus. You can't find them anymore, but he used to have Cuddle Team Leader giving free hugs, signs to keep doors locked, and Greasy Grover bust on the rear bumper. One of the coolest details in Fortnite is the sky though. When the iceberg crashed into the island, Epic added the northern lights with it, which could only be seen at night. They look so cool, they also kept them the following chapter. Sometimes a skin will have a hidden backstory, but no one ever expected it to be Renegade Raider. Yeah, when the new remix version released in Chapter 4, Epic revealed that she's actually her sister. They even got reunited in the loading screen. We're all familiar with the existence of Fortnite China, but most people never got to see some of its craziest changes. Since images of skulls are banned, things like Mystique's skull had to be turned into a ball, Blackheart had no face, and Shadow Brutus looked like Gru. There was also some hidden references that involved Mr. Beast. Everyone was so focused on winning $1 million in his tournament that they missed a plane crash, house drop, and military chase from his famous videos. Speaking of viral clips, one moment by iFrost Origins captured the worst mistake on the Chapter 2 island. So when Epic saw it, they couldn't help themselves and added a gravestone to mark the occasion. And you can highlight your own success with this competitive back bling. Each season, Epic gives out a new reward to show off your skills, from the Burn Bright emote to now the Red Mask Ranker. It progresses with your rank, and after the end of the season, will lock in the highest level you reach to flex on other players. Not the only accessory to pay attention to, because in the Ghostbusters collab, there's only a few differences between the male and female outfits. Take a look at the gadgets, and you'll notice the males have old tech from the 1984 movie, while the women have newer items because they're from the 2016 reboot. And during Chapter 3, there was one secret that had everyone guessing. On a cabinet at the Joneses POI, you could find a giant blue cube which looked identical to Blevin from the end event. Next to it were some dice colored purple and yellow which matched the rest of the cubes, as well as a mysterious red version that we still haven't seen. One feature that Epic never needed to add left us all feeling a little disappointed. After we got to tame wolves and boars, we could ride them all over the map, but if you died in battle or replaced them with another animal, they'd end up heartbroken. But only the most dedicated fans of Attack on Titan spotted this secret about Levi. Wait a while in the lobby, and you'll see he picks little things off his jacket and brushes his clothes. Seems like a normal idle animation, but this is a clever reference to how he's a clean freak in the show. And the next time you go up to a vending machine and speak to Lana, try using the crowning achievement emote. She'll have a unique line reacting to it, and it even changes depending on what she's selling. Not the only AI that has some hilarious speech, because half of the bots in the game have great references. From Athena or Apollo asking which chapter's map you prefer, to references from famous literature like Double Plus Good for 1984. If you travel to places like Kenjutsu Crossing, you can find these gongs hanging on a stand. It looks like a standard prop, but hit it and it'll actually ring.
Nice.
Not a sport, but softball is, and it's officially in Fortnite. Back in Chapter 3, Jones confirmed the IO has a team for each department at HQ, even the Doomsday Division.
Oh man, their softball team is awful, but they will one day destroy us all, so kind of a wash.
And if you want to keep track of time while you play, equip Ludwig's Clockwork Backbling, and it'll show you your real local time on the clock. Pay attention next time you're watching the Spy's launch trailer. As we're introduced to each agent, their description pops up. But when Midas appears, his description changes gold exactly as the narrator says.
Midas, a mastermind with the golden touch.
And I bet you never noticed there are laws in Fortnite. When you visit any of the hotels or the pool, you might spot a rules sign. It says some obvious stuff like no diving, alcohol, or weapons, but then they finish off by saying you can't even have fun. There's also more signs warning you against peeing in the pool. If you're not a fan of swimming, maybe you prefer driving around on a Segway. This emote was part of the Battle Pass in Chapter 3 Season 2, but little did anyone know that it was actually an official collab. Some players have pointed out that Paradigm might have a hidden reference on her face. Since she's the pilot of the mech, it's pretty interesting that she has a scar on the same eye as the robot. But it could all just be a coincidence, since the mech's head is originally based on Cuddle Team Leader with the exact same scar. If you want to sit down to relax, there's actually a hidden difference between the two animations. Males will often sit with their legs on one knee, while females cross them over completely. But if you're sitting around a campfire, just make sure you're not roasting a llama. In the old jungle biome, Epic hit a small tribal village, and you could literally find a llama skeleton being cooked on the fire. It was horrifying. They didn't exactly stop with the creepy secrets either. If you paid a visit to the Herald Tree and listened carefully, you could hear her spirit still breathing from within. We all know the High Stakes Club for vampire hunting teenagers, but they were also super fans of Starfang, a secret vampire. So if you spoke to her NPC as each of them, you'd actually get special dialogue. And if you went back after they found out she's a vampire, she turned against them. We have had so many villains in Fortnite, but I don't think anyone expected Palpatine himself to speak in the Star Wars event, which was actually canon in the movies and is even mentioned in the opening crawl. Still not the craziest collab, because Kirby once accidentally appeared in the trailer for Party Royale. Epic has never had a crossover with Nintendo, so they actually blurted out of the video. A trailer secret you can still find today is right at the start of Chapter 2's launch. As it zooms out of the black hole through endless space, the camera actually flips 180 degrees, because of course, we went to the other side before returning again in Chapter 3. Even simple trailers have hidden lore, and that's especially true with the Slurp Legends pack. When the three of them entered the test and come out as Slurp monsters, you can see Chaos Agent in the background, the mastermind behind the experiment. This is the Bash Burner pickaxe, so while the fire is pretty tiny, it's easy to miss a mind-blowing detail. When you step into water, it'll extinguish the flame, and this works for all cosmetics. The tactical shotgun has been in the game for years, but nobody paid attention to this tiny green monitor on the side. If you zoom really far in, you'll notice it's playing a game of Snake. Everyone loves Baby Yoda, and it's easy to sit there and watch him be adorable, but if you wait long enough, you'll pull out random objects like the ball from the Razor Crest or a bowl of soup. Speaking of backblings, Skull Trooper set includes Ghost Portal, and it turns out this actually releases the spirits of other skins like Rex, Bright Bomber, and Rustlord. Make sure to look closely the next time you reload, because every bullet you put in your weapon can be customized. Depending on the wrap you've equipped, the bullet will change too. If you take Rocket Raccoon along for the ride, he is very interactive, from holding his breath underwater to spitting at people when you're knocked. An amazing detail can be found on Mancake, more specifically his head. In a match, the sun is glaring right at you, and with each passing minute, the butter will melt, getting smaller and smaller until it's completely gone. But I feel bad for the Stringles pickaxe. If there's one thing guitars are known for, it's getting smashed. Hitting things not only breaks the guitar, but his face becomes more and more bruised as you do it. A detail nobody talks about was that Steamy Stacks in Chapter 2. We knew this thing was powered by Kevin, but the POI was full of subtle details. I mean, look at the bushes. Leading up to the entrance, they are all cubes. If you find yourself in shadow mode, lurking in the sideways, or even with an alien parasite on your head, make sure to turn on voice chat, because you'll sound like this when talking to your teammates. Midas is known for his golden touch. In fact, it spreads to every weapon or item he holds. But what happens when he's wearing gloves? On the Bodyguard LTM, every skin gets a pair of gloves, and when it comes to Midas, his gold touch stops working. It's just like the marshmallows and the toasty roast emote. If you spend a long time holding them over the fire, they burn out and need replacing. But you might need that fire to warm yourself up, because did you know that when you stand in a cold area, you can see your own character's breath? And there are some secret messages hidden in the license plates of your favorite Fortnite cars. The whiplashes are super fast, of course, while sedan beats walking. Taxis are harder to figure out, but it's a reference to the Power Play radio station. Bear pickup trucks are grisly, and even though police cars are gone, they had laws written on the back. If you use the popcorn emote while standing in water, they'll float on the surface for a second. In replay, you can see that your character is actually pushing the accelerator and brake pedals while you're driving. When it comes to a tank, you literally control it with levers from the inside. You would never see this in a normal game, and Fortnite added it anyway. Running over leaves in Chapter 4 will make them fly around, but this has been happening for a while, just not the way you think. In previous seasons, this would happen with confetti, where walking through it would cause it to have physics. I'm more impressed by the fact that Midas's golden touch extends past weapons and items. It turns out gas pumps also turn solid gold. It's not as subtle as the audio in Fortnite, which has an insane attention to detail. Every footstep you hear in the game is different. The obvious ones are when you're walking on different terrain, like roads, sand, and snow. But the type of shoes you wear also change it. Heels make different footsteps to something like boots. There are plenty of guns that are modeled after real-life weapons, and they work the exact same way. Shooting them actually makes the bullet casing fly out and land on the floor, and your character has proper trigger discipline while reloading. Once you use those bullets to eliminate someone, make sure to check out the kill feed because there's some secret messages that only appear for special deaths. Dying on a shopping cart says, "You shopped till you dropped." Being crushed by the police car junk riff means you arrested yourself. If you somehow get run over by your own quad crasher, you forgot to set the parking brake. I feel like nobody would have noticed this flare gun secret, but Epic added it anyway. If you shoot a flare into the sky and look at the bullet in replay mode, it has text that says, "Fire at 45 degrees," just like a real flare gun. Before it released, the item was teased in a short film at the World Cup. Nobody knew if it was an actual gun or just a prop for the movie, but if you looked at the crate, it had a number. Seems random at first, but this was the release date of Season 3, which would eventually bring it to the game. If you land at Grand Glacier, you can now find the most hilarious chest ever. There's giant bushes shaped like a deer, but look behind it and who did this? So if you're rightfully arrested for what you just did, watch out because it turns out someone actually owns the Fortnite police car. When they set up the real-life event in the California desert, the number plate gave us the model of the car, revealing the in-game model is based on a 1988 Dodge Aries America. For those who treated their animal with respect, they have an exclusive secret that only appears with lightsabers. Not only can you use them while riding a boar or wolf, but they even have a special animation just for this occasion. And that's not even the coolest secret that Star Wars has. There's only one person in Fortnite with a custom death scene, and that is Darth Vader. When you defeat his boss, he doesn't fall down like everyone else. Instead, he kneels before turning into blue pixels. And nobody has noticed the ridiculous amount of detail in the Witcher set. If you use his Igni sign emote while holding the sword, he'll actually keep it in his hand and remove it from his backpack. And that's not the only special cosmetic, because players discovered a small Easter egg when they combine a regular emote with a collab skin. If you became Thanos in the Avengers LTM, then use the snap action, it would make the Infinity Stones flash. Chrome was only here for one season, but if you actually threw a splash at a chest, not only would it transform the look, but the loot inside would also be converted. Forget the items because materials are even more important. This secret has been in the game for 5 years, and there's so many people who never noticed it to this day. It is very small, but if you change the mats you're building with, the blueprint paper will change with it. And if you're not harvesting resources, you could actually use your pickaxe to change the music at the DJ booths. Hitting the weak point will change the song track in the disco so you can play whatever you like. Bring some food to the party with the sizzling emote, but be careful because it can catch fire. If you wait long enough, you can start to see the food burning, and it's only a matter of time before they become flaming charcoal. There's even more detail put into the rift to go. If you look closely, you can actually see a small segment of the island, and that's because it works like a functional snow globe. The island has more secrets like this too. If a player is wearing a bush, moving to a different biome will change the color of the item. Sadly, this doesn't work nowadays, so let's hope they bring it back. It's not just collabs Fortnite's been referencing this season, sometimes it's themselves. If you've been playing the LEGO mode, you'll know the insane amount of dialogue there is with hundreds of NPCs. In fact, there's 50,000 lines of dialogue. And if you have Aura, she might say she gets so mad she wants to flip an entire island upside down. If you know, you know. The Matrix emote has a super unique feature that gives any outfit a pair of shades, just like the scene from the movie. You just gotta appreciate the realism in Fortnite. Even something as simple as a drink has so much detail inside of it. Running around with a potion in your hand, you could actually see the liquid sloshing around and it forms bubbles from the gas. That's just like how the clocks on the walls are always running. I mean, sure, they don't tell you the real time, but for every minute that passes, they move with it and they even follow the day and night cycle. I'm pretty creeped out by the gnome pickaxe though, because swinging this thing starts off okay, but after a few hits, it giggles with the infamous gnome voice. So if you're creeped out by that, at least Epic didn't reveal your address. In the Zero Crisis finale, they actually put their location on the side of Terminator's truck. If you search it up, it takes you right to Epic Games HQ in North Carolina. There's plenty of things to say about the water in Fortnite, like how swimming against the stream is slower, but the real challenge is trying to drown yourself. It's tough, but it's actually possible, and you'll lose health over time. In case you're some kind of psycho, no, this doesn't work on animals. They're totally fine and will despawn if you tried this experiment with them, which you gotta appreciate. With the new jam tracks, there's tons of new songs coming to the game every week, but one of them might be familiar than the rest. You can now catch Belle Biv DeVoe on rotation in the shop, and this is actually the music that Turk dances to in Scrubs. Recognize it? Yes, it is the iconic default dance, and now we can finally recreate it entirely in-game. But don't get too comfortable because you might have to run from a giant cube. Back when Kevin was in the game, if you got crushed or zapped by him, the text in the kill feed would be corrupted, showing his name as a bunch of flashing symbols. But one thing has taken the community by storm after it was discovered hiding on the Chapter 5 map. In the north, you can find Cloister Castle secluded on a rock, but this place has way more than you can imagine. On the top floor, you can find Midas' office chair straight from his room in Chapter 2. It's looking out over the island, leaving many people wondering if he's returned. And the new guns can even track how fast you dance. The heisted exotics use a wrap called Neon Pulse, which changes color over time. So if you emote around them, it'll speed up and flash even faster. A detail you'd only find in the files is the codename of the islands. They're based on Greek mythology and actually make sense to the story. Chapter 4 is named Asteria, which is the island that Apollo and Artemis were born on, referencing the prequel nature of the season. It's crazy how committed Epic is to immersion, especially when it comes to graphics. With RTX, you can see accurate reflections in water, glass, and even the scopes of weapons. I mean, so much work goes into tiny things we barely notice. If you've been playing Fortnite for a while, you're probably familiar with the battle call emote. But did you know every 1 in 100 times this can happen? Just like in Season 8, when Epic added a huge telephone for both their burger and Pizza Pit, but the twist was, they actually worked. You could dial the numbers with your pickaxe and it would function like a real phone, so if a player was at the other restaurant, they'd hear it ringing. Another awesome detail was added to the map after the World Cup in 2019. Not only did the winners get a trophy and millions of dollars, but they also got their own secret tribute. If you visited Lucky Landing, a trophy engraved with Booga's name can be found. This is because it was his drop spot at the time. Now you might have forgotten why Lucky Landing was even added as a POI. To celebrate Chinese New Year in 2018, Epic changed multiple huts across the island to shrines, along with adding a brand new POI. These never appeared again for future years, so it makes sense why no one remembers it. The same goes for a secret about sharks. We've all ran into them, but there's a hidden detail that 99% of players forgot about. When Epic released this LTM, there's a small room with whiteboards telling us the IO wanted to give one lasers, a jetpack, and that his official name is Bruce. Of course, it's a reference to Finding Nemo, and there's even a line implying he could talk. Now, it's still not as surprising as the first Icon series emote, which was hidden in a battle pass. When streamers launched Season 3, none of them expected to come across the positivity emoticon straight from CDN the Third's chat.
No, they didn't.
Oh, no way.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
Oh my god, they added it for you!
Open bracket, plus sign, close bracket. Let's go.
Wait, look what it's.
And he wasn't the only one to get a secret tribute in the game, because when the Summit Striker pack released, people could only see one person. Not only was the name similar to Summit 1G, but it also had a giant letter across the jacket, which was undeniably similar to his own logo. And let's just say Ninja, he was a little jealous.
Summit Striker. It's got its colors.
And it says 1G across the chest.
No, it doesn't. Oh my god, it does. What? Are you serious?
And some skins have a secret that the devs forgot about too. These dog tags are all on the defaults, but what most people don't remember is that every skin was originally gonna have these. Well, that's until Fortnite started making more creative designs. Everyone had them around their neck, even if they felt out of place. And now you can still find them on Ghoul Trooper, Sparkle Specialist, and some newer skins like Ready Penny and Recon Champion. And speaking of old details, there's a classic part of Fortnite that even OGs have forgotten about. By now, we're all used to looking at the bottom left of our screens for health, but before Chapter 2, this bar was actually in the middle of the screen and looked completely different. And with the upgrades to graphics, we lost a detail that was small but pretty iconic. Whenever you ran, you used to kick up clouds of dust behind you that looked like it was straight out of a cartoon. A change a lot of players were happy to see was to the original minigun. When this thing was first added, you could fire all 999 ammo without stopping, which is obviously, it's a little overpowered, okay? But you'll have to go back even further to remember the giant clock that you could find in the desert. In the Mesa Hills, one of the mountains had a bunch of cars and logs on top, forming a huge huge sundial with a telephone pole in the middle. So if you're tracking numbers, then pay attention to Jules' drum gun. Since she's the mechanic of the device and other inventions, it is no surprise that her mythic has a hidden mathematical equation engraved on the side. The formula is actually a real one used to calculate force, with mass multiplied by acceleration. When you pick it up, one thing you wouldn't notice is the old sound effects. I think a lot of us forgot about this tiny detail, but the sound, it's so nostalgic. And when Coral Castle was revealed, players are disappointed that it wasn't Atlantis, but there was one detail that almost made up for it. If you went to the bridge, you could find these conch shells and make an entire song with them. From a water temple to a jungle, Pizza Pet used to be a normal restaurant until the head vanished into a rift one day. Everyone thought it was gone until it came back as a stone statue, obviously teasing Tomato Temple, with the new tribe worshipping their tomato god. And that's not the only iconic POI that got a strange revamp. In Season X, the rifts didn't just destabilize the name locations, even the wooden chair was affected and transformed into a giant spaceship made of metal. Looking back, Chapter 1 had a lot of random POIs, and the biggest was probably the football stadium. It was added for the 2018 FIFA World Cup, but only lasted 4 weeks before being deleted. They also removed the ability to carry 10 minis in a single slot. During Season 7, Epic nerfed it to only 6, which seemed like a big change at the time, but now we're all very used to it. And they also used to look insanely different when using them. All consumables had the same animation of either wrapping your arms or just holding an empty hand to your mouth no matter what you were drinking. You'll probably never have the chance of seeing that again, but there is a small possibility of getting this secret version of Howl. There's only a 1% chance of it happening, but instead of the howl, you'll hear this. Now, if you're subscribed to Fortnite Crew, you might have unlocked a secret back bling that nobody noticed. With the start of the Primal season, we were all so distracted that a lot of players missed a unique backpack of Jonesy as an action figure with its own customizable parts. But there was one object in the map that a ton of people missed back in Season 6. We were all focused on the giant iceberg making its way to the island that we didn't see Aim's parachute land on top of Flush Factory. It was a great attention to detail that even matched the story loading screen. And while we've seen Fishstick die in the comics and in Thunder's trailer, a lot of people don't remember his first death in Chapter 1. When Bigfoot released, not many players paid attention to his back bling, but look closely and you'll see poor Fishstick stuffed into the cooler with his arm hanging out. Chapter 1 had so many forgotten details, and one of the best was the interactive events. Throughout Season 8, we had to pickaxe giant dig sites to slowly uncover whatever was underneath. One by one, we completed each of them, revealing skeletons, geysers, and even creating a lava eruption. Eventually, we found the vault, which led to the entire thing being discovered underground. And most people don't remember that back blings didn't actually exist at first. Nowadays, we're used to being able to customize everything. But before Season 3, things like shields, ski bags, and even Love Ranger's wings were glued to the skin. Another forgotten detail could be found at Der Burger, which was the most iconic restaurant since day one, until it was infested by cockroaches. You probably remember the great food war between the rival companies, but there was a time when Tomato Head just took it way too far. You could find a box of insects on his truck outside Der Burger, and just a week later, the entire place was closed down for health and safety. A great attention to detail that storyline lovers will appreciate is the visitor space pod. After the meteor first landed, it eventually cracked open to reveal the tech inside. But when time was reversed in Season X, Epic didn't forget. They made sure you could actually head inside and see the pod before it hit the ground. In that same chapter, there was a small town in the community called Westworld, with one house that stood out from the rest. The red building was full of the iconic Fortnite chairs, and nobody knew why, but one day, they all randomly transformed into old TVs. Something none of us have seen for a long time is LTMs, but certain modes only release once, and most players never got a chance to try them. Things like Steady Storm had a constantly moving zone, and Ground Game was basically an early version of Zero Build. There was also a bare bones mode that took away most HUD elements, so you couldn't see the storm, players, or damage numbers. One image that Epic did give us was hiding a secret during Operation Skyfire. After the event, we all watched the downtime screen for Season 8, but Fortnite wasted no time dropping teasers. There's some pretty strange images, but when players noticed pieces of a QR code in the corner, piecing them all together would take you to a short trailer for the new season. In Chapter 2, we had to choose between Ghost or Shadow for each of our Battle Pass agents, and whichever you selected was permanent. Sadly, there was no way to get the other style, but it was cool to see the votes change each side's POI in the next update, with Brutus's Grotto turning to Shadow and Sky Shark becoming a Ghost Prison. Now, there's a vehicle in Fortnite that most players don't even know exists. We all know what happened with the police cars, but it's surprising that we've never seen the ambulance or fire truck in the game. Well, it turns out they do exist, but are only in Save the World, so it feels like we're kinda missing an opportunity here. Right above Shady Stilts, you can find a nice statue of Fishstick. Well, that's what we all thought until we checked it with thermal vision. Yeah, not exactly a statue. Fish Stick might actually be trapped inside. Collabs nowadays always have secrets, and one of my favorites is hidden in the Transformers contrail. Combo this with every skin in the game, and you'll see the Autobots logo. But Fortnite secretly changes for Optimus Primal, where instead you'll find the Maximals. You can also find details in original cosmetics like Treezy. With each elim in the match, he changes colors like a real tropical frog, and you can even hear him make a sound every time. Now, thankfully, it won't take as much effort to find the secret in the Sunny Stroll emote, which is hiding a Rift Butterfly for anyone who does it for long enough. The same goes for Stormy Slog, but this time, if you're patiently waiting, you'll get struck by lightning. Another secret cosmetic is Bender's back bling. Not only is his son from the show, but he's also reactive, and if you're wearing this little guy and take damage, he'll start crying. Even the Icon series is full of hidden details, and one of the best has to be Chica's wholesome tribute. Take a closer look at the pickaxe, and you'll see Ida, a tribute to her grandmother.
And hopefully she's proud. She always will be in the game with me.
And the collab details keep coming with this mole on Padme's face. Pretty neat detail, but it's not just to match the character, because it's actually based on Natalie Portman's mole in real life. More noticeable things are still fun to spot too, like when the new Terminator collab dropped with Tiny Peely driving the truck. And that is nothing compared to one of the craziest details Epic's ever made. We got to explore the IO's base in the Imposters mode, but take a look at Jonesy's closet and you'll notice the Tuesday suit is missing. This ties all the way back to how he jumped into the 0 point after the Galactus event and never returned. You probably guessed it by now, that happened on a Tuesday. Don't let that detail take away from one of the coolest backblings, and I mean that literally. The snow cone melts when your health is low, and will actually fill back up as you heal. In Chapter 1, we all knew Fortnite made their own versions of popular heroes like Wonder Woman or Iron Man, but hardly anyone noticed the fake Cyclops skin right out of the X-Men. Axiom has the same color scheme, laser eye mask, and even a giant X on his back. There's also another secret imposters that roasted tons of players. If you're ordering pizza in the cafeteria, take a look at the options, and you'll notice that pineapple is labeled as Psycho. And if you're defeating the Peter Griffin boss and wondering why he isn't wearing his iconic clothes, it's actually a real outfit from the show. In the Lottery Fever episode, the Griffins win $150 million, and of course, Peter spends half of it on a solid gold tuxedo. Epic also went all in with the latest Star Wars event by adding something only the most dedicated fans would notice. After the third week, the menu turned red, and the symbols at the bottom could be translated from Aurebesh to read Order 66. One of the most realistic features in game could only be seen when using certain items. You ever notice anything fire doesn't cast a shadow? Well, that's because flames in real life are the same, and so the level of detail here, it's incredible. The Futurama collab is so much love put in that Bender has over 50 unique voice lines. After you hire him, he'll follow you around and reference tons of episodes, with one of the best being, "Didn't I have a baby with you once?" It only happens when you interact with the vending machine because that's how his son is born in the show. But there's one prop in game that wins the award for being the cutest. On the Chapter 3 map, you can find this watering can in the shape of a pink elephant, a tiny addition that a dev had to go out of their way for. Just like one of the most useful emotes in the game, Swag Shot. You can use it to measure the actual height of any skin, and you'll find out that Peely is nearly 7 feet tall, while Optimus Prime barely reaches 6. For anyone with the Escapist umbrella, you might have missed a secret design this whole time. You had to win the Impossible Escape LTM to get it, which is why the caveman drawings in the top depict the entire mode, running from raptors, collecting parts, and even flying away in the choppa. But I'm more impressed that they put so much attention into Breezabelle's crew pack. Swinging the wand pickaxe creates bubbles, and they even have the oily rainbow effect just like in real life. There are 2 hidden references on a skin you would never expect. Kit Bash has been around for a while, and his Cat Bash style has Meowscles' ancient earpiece, and even a heart with links on his belt. Some tiny details, but not as small as the reactive jets on Mecha Strike Commander. Whenever you sprint or jump, the boosters on the arm will shoot out red flames. While most things are added for extra detail, some are secretly foreshadowing the future. On Malik's shield, you could see a hand reaching out of goo, exactly like the teasers for Chrome at the end of the same season. And if you manage to unlock Trace, he's reactive to this emote, and no one really noticed. Normally it has blue water, but equip as Rebel style, and it changes to green. There are other emotes that also have a hidden variant. When it comes to burpee, you'll either do the normal exercise or show off your terrible manners. So if you want to hide after that, the Shadow Bomb is a good way to get cover, but if you ever zoomed in on it, you realize the top has been a dragon head this entire time. Sometimes Epic can be funny with their jokes, and they didn't hold back when it came to the Tat Axe. The description might seem strange, but regrets is actually misspelled on purpose to mock people who get tattoos spelled wrong. It's even a scene from We're the Millers.
What is this one?
Oh, this? That's my credo. No regrets.
Pay even more attention to cosmetics from now on, because sometimes Fortnite uses them to tease the future. Back in Season 8, you could pick up the Crossroads pickaxe, which had signs for Tilted Road and Pleasant Ave. But the word delete scribbled over it wasn't for nothing, because at the end of the season, they did exactly that. Fast forward to Chapter 2 and we got Midas, one of the most popular skins in the game. But it wasn't until recently that players started to notice the detail in his tattoos. From 24K under the chin, to Midas written on his neck, and even Marigold on the leg. But there is one feature in the game that hardly any players got to see. If there's a raptor chasing you down, it might not be the best option to hide in the house, because these guys could open doors just like in Jurassic Park. You probably heard the saying that a UFO sighting is likely just a weather balloon. So when Epic added a little ship as a backbling during Season 7, they took the conspiracy and ran wild, giving it the perfect name. It's not the only time they've taken a joke from real life, because when we were able to run around in imposters, you might have seen this TV. The IO logo is bouncing around just like the iconic DVD menu, and it can even land in the corner of the screen. But if anything has attention to detail, it's the remix paintings in Deadpool's yacht. Inside, you can find a bunch of famous pictures like the Scream, but instead of the originals, Deadpool somehow snuck his way into every single one. One of the craziest features that Fortnite's ever added was one they had to remove instantly. For a short time in Chapter 1, your character's mouth would mime what you said on voice chat. It was a hilarious addition, but after only a week, it was cut. When Epic added the Fortnite pickaxe, they secretly made it inclusive for everyone. That is why there's an alternate style that switches the way you hold the utensils, just in case you're a lefty. One thing we were all holding in Season 4 was the explosive goo gun. It was pretty OP, but if you paid attention to the canister as you fired, it would actually drain the goo. Small detail not a lot of people noticed, and it even filled back up when reloading. So if you thought the IO was gone, just take a look at your own inventory. They're the ones that made the gold we've been using for years, with their logo imprinted on every bar. They're also on playing cards. You can see their logo on the back, and instead of hearts or spades on the front, it's all of their symbols and glyphs. We're all familiar with the food fight between Durr Burger and Pizza Pit, but there is one rivalry that a lot of people missed. In Butter Barn, you can see that Mancake had a wanted poster of Guaco with a bounty reward of 100 million. If you've ever wondered how Fortnite managed to make a pizza so healthy that it heals you, it's actually because of the toppings. Open up the box and you'll see slices of slurp mushrooms on all the pieces. Another amazing attention to detail has to do with John Wick. Whenever you equip him in the lobby, you'll notice that he has his iconic silenced pistol from the movie. This gets even better with the skin, because if you use the damage style and the bulletproof emote, it makes the bullet casings fall off of his suit. If you watch the trailer for Vibin and wonder why Vader used the Force on his own stormtrooper, it's actually so he's tall enough to go on the ride. A clever reference to this line from the movie.
Too short for a stormtrooper? Huh?
But did you know there's one emote that lets you fail at dancing? When you do Slap Happy, there's a small chance that the music will be out of tune and even the crowd will boo you. But to spot this next secret, you'll have to own two different skins. We all know that Midas and Oro have the same scar, but the mystery only gets deeper when you notice he has the same ring and pattern on his Midas Rex suit. One of my favorite details is found when you equip the Lack Pack. On the side of the carton is a missing poster for Jonesy, which is from when he entered the loop and got trapped. One of the most relatable emotes is Snackin'. We've all tried to throw food in our mouths only to fail, and Epic knew this. If you wait long enough, your character will try and just completely miss. One of the hardest weapons to find has a story that's been hiding in plain sight. Marksman 6-shooter was an exotic for a few seasons, but if you zoomed in, you notice tally marks all over it. It's meant to be a Western weapon, so this could be for days spent in prison or for how many people it's taken out. Something else Epic put way too much time into is the Uncharted collab. If you watch the movie, you'll know the treasure map was based on the same one they steal, but in Fortnite, they replaced the real world with a Chapter 3 island, so it fit a little better. Since there are so many loading screens in the game, it's nearly impossible to spot all the hidden secrets, but there's one in particular where Fortnite decided to go all out. The WRLD universe was exclusive to the crew, but teased things like the Alien season, Vox Hunter, and even the Foundation's banner. Our next detail revolves around one Fortnite trailer where if you blink, you'll miss it. The video for Imposters shows a janitor about to clean Jones's office, but pause and you'll notice it's all cracked and broken. You're wondering why? It's the same wreckage caused from the Galactus event. Midas is known for three things: the Golden Touch, the Device event, and being eaten by a shark. But it turns out Epic secretly teases fate the whole time. If you take a look at Midas's tattoos, the one on his wrist has a shark about to bite. He's also the one who gave us this POI, so it was a fitting way to go. One of my favorite details is on the Barat skin. I mean, this whole outfit is insane, but there's something you can't see from the front. You gotta turn him around, and the design on his hat will reveal itself. I know at first it looks like nothing, but look closer and yeah, it's a hot dog. Genius. A detail I bet you never noticed involves the Mandalorian. We all remember getting aimbotted by this guy in Chapter 2, and they even gave him a Mando's Bounty LTM. But it turns out that his armor was different based on what mode you were playing. In regular games, he looks like this, while the Mando's Bounty gives him full Beskar. But back to Chapter 4, we are days away from getting a new weapon, the Toggle Zoom DMR. This was first spotted in the trailer, and if you look closely, it has Gotcha painted on the side with a little smiley face. Pretty cool considering that's exactly how it feels to snipe someone. There's even a reference to the Imagined Order hidden away in LEGO Fortnite. When exploring your world, you can find randomly generated structures like villages, caves, or broken down houses, but one of them is insanely rare to find, the IO Bunker. It's the classic hatch from Chapter 1 and 2, and now people are starting to discover them in LEGO. If you picked up the Lil Wheelie emote recently, you will appreciate its hidden design. Look at the bite from the front, and yup, that's the Devourer. You can even spot his teeth behind your knees. Speaking of throwbacks, we've been looking at Meowscles wrong this whole time. When you're flexing your muscles, he's not just kissing them for fun, he's actually kissing the Lynx tattoo on his arm, which is super adorable. On the topic of loved ones, Brutus has a similar detail. For years he was covered up, but then Summer Brutus dropped, giving us a first look at his tattoos. 3 of them are dedicated to his mom, with her name on his arm, then these designs which say Mama's Big Baby and Love Mom Always. How sweet. Kinda like Firework Team Leader's back bling. It's a couple of fireworks and a hat, but if you zoom all the way in, they have special branding with artwork we have never seen before, like Starstruck, Dino Rock, and Bright Bomb. An impressive fact is how Fortnite's reloads are insanely realistic. If you have a shotgun and empty the shells, you would think that canceling the animation would just let you do it over and over. Well, that's until you restart, and the game remembers that the gun is already out of bullets. Now, Season 4 has a hidden detail that you would never expect, and it's hiding in the basement of Fish Thick's house. Underneath the gym, you'll discover an aquarium full of tiny fish. Are these his children or his pets? I don't know what's more terrifying. He's not the only person who's super buff either. The Hulk is ripped, and he has the receipts to back it up. If you use the Smash emote, his back muscles actually flex. Kinda crazy that someone spent their entire workday on this. But here's another buff character, Meowscles. So do all these guys go to the same gym or something? Actually no, because Meowscles has a private room on the yacht, and when you explored it, the details were incredible. Look at this dartboard where he spends his time aiming at Doggo. I guess the famous cats vs dog rivalry even exists in Fortnite. If you want to play as other animals like a snake or an eagle, use Maeve. She can shapeshift into a ton of wildlife, and every time she switches, a different part of her tattoo will light up. And make sure to look at Sarah Connor because even diehard fans can't spot this detail. Just underneath her vest, you can barely make out a bandage on her shoulder blade. It is really subtle, but this is accurate to the movies where she was injured by the T-1000. Always fun to see R-rated movies in Fortnite, and it's actually not that surprising. There were adult themes on license plates back in the day like Pimpins. I also love ones like Open Tailgate, Lil Wagon, and Elevator. But have you ever paid attention to Fortnite's logos? They put a ton of thought into things as simple as Guaco's Tacos. It's easy to miss the hidden message here, but look at the C and O. They go together to make an actual taco. So to burn off those calories, wear the soccer skins. Once you've equipped these, they will default to the number 14. Feels a little random until you realize why. There are 14 days in a fortnight. I love it when they add things that most people don't even think about, like the Enhanced Infiltrator's design. If you're not wearing a wrap, it looks like this, which is pretty random for a generic shotgun. Except this ain't your regular shotty. The fish skeleton actually belongs to a character. Equip Fish Thick and then switch his edit style, and there you go, this is his shotgun. Now take a look at Chapter 4's map. Some POIs have random shapes, and others are specifically designed that way, like a Relentless Retreat that was an eclipse. Fortnite has been doing this for a long time, whether it's a fish-shaped island or a heart in the ocean. That brings us to Chapter 1, where Frosty Flights actually had a secret detail. Some players believe this part of the island is shaped like a penguin, and honestly, I can kinda see it. There's also some secrets in Fortnite Festival. Load into the main stage, and before you cue your songs, take a second to explore the theater, cause there is an evil plot hiding behind you. Head up into the left stands, and you can find a bird and cat plushie who are planning to kill someone. Yeah, definitely creepy. It's kinda like how they designed another member of the Seven, the Origin. Most people associate him with this incredible suit, but his base style is actually him in a prison outfit. Yeah, a lot of players don't really use this, but if you paid attention, you would see the number 7 on his shirt. You gotta love the attention to detail. Once you unlock the Beats Bunny, it's obviously a reference to rhythm games like Beat Saber. But they went all out with this. It's going way too fast to notice, but let's slow it down. Yes, those sticks are you're holding are actually rabbits, and the things you're hitting are carrots. It's easy to miss how much effort goes into these skin releases, and that's especially true for Jill Valentine. Not only is she super accurate to the Resident Evil games, but her item shop render has the exact same pose as the RE3 remake. Enjoying the nostalgia for a second, anyone remember their very first skin? Mine was Battlehound, and I've had this guy for 6 years now. I'm now feeling a little blind because I never noticed the eye holes in his mouth. I cannot unsee this, it looks so weird now. We're all familiar with the new update to healing this season, with meds giving you what you need and discarding the rest, but pay attention when drinking a big shield. You'll throw it on the ground, but it doesn't just vanish, it actually smashes, and you can hear the glass shatter all over the floor. Well, that's not the only change. Even Lucian's back bling has received an update. Before, he was a baby wolf who was missing an eye, and it was adorable. But if you read the description, it said he was tougher than he looks. Maybe we should have listened, because now Lil Louie means business. He is fully grown and looks terrifying. At least you can enjoy the aesthetics of J Balvin Redux. He's another skin who got a massive upgrade, and if you look at his feet, those are some very nice shoes. Turns out they're not only real Air Jordans, but they are J Balvin versions that you could buy right now. The more you know. If you're feeling lost on the brand new map, simply equip Adventure Peely's back bling. The Nana Compass isn't just adorable, it actually functions, pointing north, east, south, or west depending on which way you're facing in a match. That's just like the underrated design of Penny. It's one of the oldest skins in Fortnite, but only recently came to Battle Royale. Now we can truly appreciate her style, including the lipstick on her belt. It blends in with the shotgun shells at first glance, but it shows how she balances fighting with style. Kinda like the heist bags. Yeah, they're full of loot, but Fortnite also went with a genius design. Instead of just glowing like a chest, they put glow sticks attached to the bag so you can spot it in the dark. Something you don't want to ignore though is the secret loot cave. On the far east of the island, you can find a small cave in the rocks, climb through the tunnels and passageways before finally swimming under the water to reach a giant opening. This place looks crazy, and to make it even better, it's filled with chests and our beloved friends, the Coral Buddies. That's just like my favorite back bling, the Brain Freeze. Every time I wear this thing, I start craving a popsicle because it looks that good, okay? Well, that's until you play a game with it, and as time goes on, it starts to actually melt. If you make it all the way to the end of a match, there's basically nothing left of your popsicle. And that's not the only mind-blowing throwback. If you're in the Renegade Rust Cat, you probably noticed it had a strange number on the back, 2.297. What could it possibly mean? Well, it's actually a genius reference to Fortnite's most infamous back bling. Back in 2018, the servers went down for a whole day, causing a ridiculous frenzy. And so to reward players for waiting, Epic handed out the Rust Bucket. As you can see right there on the sign, 2.297, made even cooler by the fact that Rust Lord and Renegade Raider were originally in the same set. In fact, if you go to the bonus styles of the OG pass, you'll find Magmatic Renegade Lynx, who's an on-the-nose reference to our first remix, Blaze. And that's not even the coolest detail in the battle pass. Epic really put effort in for all the veteran players, which you'll realize if you look at any of the loading screens. This portrait of Lil Split being carried up the ice is of course taken directly from Peely's first ever artwork, or Renegade Lynx recreating the art for High Explosives. She also appears in the replica of her original loading screen, except the version in 2018 is one of the only animated cosmetics in the game. This one, it sadly isn't. And there's a detail which was first spotted all the way back in Chapter 1, but didn't make sense until now. Outside an old ranch at Paradise Palms, you can find two gravestones for the people who live there. One of them has a framed picture of a woman holding a doll. At the time, this meant nothing to us, and then it faded away into obscurity. Well, that's until the final reckoning happened, revealing Willow as a fully fledged outfit. Not only was she a haunted bride, but she also had a doll head variant. Now this Easter egg has returned, and we know exactly what it's referencing: a secret backstory to one of Fortnite's scariest villains. On the topic of backstories, if you go to Carbide's hero base, you can find the blueprints of his original suit design. They're on a table showing his first prototype, followed by a mask on a mannequin. Obviously, we found out the whole hero story is part of a movie, so I would explain these concept designs. Not the only outfit to blow us away. While designing Lil Split, Fortnite went all out. As you know, Peely has a 2D mouth, while Lil Whip has a 3D one that barely moves. So matching them together, they gave Split the cartoon mouth with Lil Whip's iconic blue tongue. You would never notice this unless you made him smile. And if you didn't watch Stranger Things, you probably wouldn't know the detail in 11's set. She recently dropped with a diorama back bling, and this is taken straight from the show where she turned a shoebox into Hopper's cabin. Except, Fortnite has changed this. Not only is there an upside down variant, but if you compare the back bling to the real diorama from the show, they turned Hopper's police car into a generic vehicle. If you prefer the tier 50 outfit, Omega Rock has some incredible details in his set. His pickaxe is a mashup of Omega's Onslaught and Ragnarok's Permafrost, fusing together to create Winter's Onslaught. The same goes for his back bling, which grabs the Frozen Shroud and destabilizer to make Apocalypse Shroud. When I first heard about the Grand Glacier, it sounded way too familiar. Creepy hotel, abandoned in the snowy mountains, reminds me of the Overlook from The Shining. Well, I guess the developers also thought that, because if you head into the hotel's maze, you'll find a statue buried in snow with an axe next to him. Yeah, it's a family-friendly version of The Shining's ending, where Jack freezes to death in the maze while holding his axe. For an Easter egg a little less freaky, head south of the map where you'll find an island that creates a love heart bridge. It's adorable, but also sets the scene for a perfect wedding venue, and that's exactly what the stone frogs are looking for. Just across, you can find a wedding ceremony happening between two frogs in love, and all I'm saying is, we need more wholesome secrets. And that's exactly what we're getting, because there's a whole island full of them. At the northeast part of the map, you'll find this small chunk of land. It's covered top to bottom in secrets, like a buried tomato head, Meowscles' ball of yarn, Sky's poster board. There's tons of callbacks to previous seasons. And one of the longest running gags has been the lack of Family Guy in Fortnite. 2 years ago, this image was leaked showing an entire scene from the show with the blood cut out. It definitely wasn't a troll because there was too much effort, and yet, time passed with no news. After so long, we all gave up, but now that Chapter 5 dropped Peter, Epic made sure to troll us one last time with that same secret backbling playing the scene from all of those years ago. Things get real sinister when you think of Peely. As we learned in the Big Bang event, he is currently missing from the poster. A major part of this season's story is how Peely has been kidnapped and Jones is on a mission to save him. Well, looks like his captors are not messing around. If you head to the motel near Grand Glacier, one of the rooms shows this banana peel and a chair. Looks like they held him hostage here before moving on, which is a little messed up for Fortnite. Sheesh. I forgive him though, because we can finally label our own guns in Chapter 5. Yeah, if you upgrade your weapon at a vault workbench, it'll be handed back with a new name. Congrats, you officially own that gun, so now your teammates can prove you stole their stuff, you loot goblin. If you're wondering, these are the guys who kidnapped Peely, and their logo has the community in a frenzy. It's two hands and an eye, a pretty standard design for a secret agency, but the gold color reminds players of Midas, and they are convinced he is the leader. One of the coolest parts of the LEGO collab is how you can use any of the skins in your locker with the mode. As long as it's not a crossover skin, basically anything works. And they even ported a few pages of the emotes over, like Sharpshooter where you use your finger guns. Only one problem, LEGO characters don't have fingers, so they use bananas instead. And when it comes to emotes like the sea shanty, Epic actually got the lip sync to work.
Their hopes were high for a win that day. Go me squatty boys go.
In fact, when you leave the lobby, it even plays the classic LEGO death sound. The amount of detail in Chapter 5 is insane. Of course, everyone's been freaking out over the new train feature, but this gets better. Head to a station, and if you're wondering when the next train is gonna show up, it tells you. There's a timer at every stop, counting down until the exact second your train will appear. And thanks to this, we also know it takes 9 minutes just to circle the map once. One of my favorite secrets, though, is hiding in plain sight. On the first page of the Battle Pass, you'll find this banner. It belongs to Hope, and seems like a regular old cat, right? Well, it's actually a reference to this iconic meme from last year. Not the only adorable creature hidden in Chapter 5. As you explore the island, you might come across the return of Coral Buddies. They've taken the game by storm over the last few years and are here once again to entertain us. In fact, the Islanders love them so much, they even made a movie. At Ruin Reels, you'll find this poster for Revenge of the Coral Buddies. Now that is a film I'm gonna see. And so you might be wondering, what happened to Peter Griffin? Why is he so swole now? Well, Fortnite has made a short video explaining exactly what happened. Okay, in all seriousness, there is a pretty awesome Easter egg hiding in Grand Glacier. Explore the interior of the hotel and you'll find a ton of oil paintings that hold a secret backstory. This one is my favorite. It shows a medieval town, but if you look closer, it's the homeworld of Princess Fishstick. And this painting shows a croissant with googly eyes. Not the only cool detail hidden around the map. There is one house full of Easter eggs. In the very north of the island, there's a house called Cloister Castle. Seems pretty creepy, but head inside and you'll find the home of a Chapter 4 enthusiast. The whole place is filled with memorabilia like Split's bowl, gongs, and even the Peace Syndicate's arcade machine. Keep exploring into the fields and you'll probably find one of these windmills. They are brand new to the game, but there's a hidden joke if you find all of them. The first one is called the Old Mill, pretty normal until you find the other windmill. Alright, I guess they couldn't think of another name, but just wait until you find the other windmill. Okay, I gotta admit, it's a pretty good joke, but it makes me wonder if there's one hidden in the new idle animations. If you stand still for long enough, your character gets bored, checks out their weapon, or even cracks their neck. There's a ton of them, come, and I wonder if there's any super rare animations with like a 1% chance. That's not the only cool update, there's also some brand new pickaxe animations for the Duelist foil. It uses stabbing movements like a sword and fencing, which makes perfect sense for Nisha's character. Hopefully, we'll even get it updated for some older swords like Duelist Grace. One place you won't get much loot is at Meows's RV. Sure, it's a blank spot, but it's definitely worth checking out if you're a fan because it's actually the same RV from Chapter 4. He officially made it onto the new map. And this wouldn't be a secrets video if I didn't bring up the best Easter egg of all. When you eliminate Peter Griffin, he pulls off the funniest death animation in Fortnite history. So since Chapter 2, bounty hunting allowed you to eliminate a target and earn a little gold on the side. Eventually this would become a job board, but in the Greek season, Epic changed it once again. Now they were a briefing station that rewards you for tasks. You needed to finish the mission within a time limit, and in return, you get things like supply drops, vehicles, or loot. Well, in the final weeks of the season, they did a complete 180. Shadow briefings no longer have bounties in them, removing the whole feature, while Epic considers a fresh take on this objective. But in February, the devs pushed a secret update removing the item shop timer. Yeah, something that has been there for half a decade just vanished overnight. Because of this, players were confused, wondering if they're staring at the latest item shop or one that's about to reset. Fans had no idea why Epic would do this. It made no sense. Ironically, the timer was replaced by Fishstick scratching his head. I guess he was just as confused until everything began to make sense 2 months later. The Netherlands dropped $1 million fine on Epic Games for unfair commercial practices. Basically, they were annoyed that the item shop would take advantage of kids. Phrases like "get it now" or "buy now" along with the timer were an illegal aggressive commercial practice, so now you can see why they removed it. A removal that was less sudden is happening right under our noses. As time goes on, live events are starting to be replaced by mini stories, like the opening of Pandora's box and the huge sandstorm that would follow months later. So before, we had to settle for one live event every year, and now they're becoming more frequent, but also smaller in size. Some fans are thrilled about this, and others wish we could go back in time where huge events were happening every couple months. One of the craziest removals took everyone by surprise. Fortnite literally deleted something that was the definition of lasting forever. Legacy rewards were handed to players for over 5 years, allowing us to log into a season and mark our achievements for good. They'd be stamped onto our accounts with the time and date, giving us something to look back on years later. It was basically the story of your account, and everyone loved it. Some legacies had Easter eggs inside, while others were so obscure that it was a huge achievement to get them. My favorite was being a Karen and speaking to the manager, or yeeting an enemy. It was full of jokes. You could also view your account level, which added up all your levels from the start of Fortnite. It was amazing. Sadly, these lighthearted features were secretly removed when Epic dropped a new UI for Chapter 5. But did you know that one of the most popular mythics of the Greek season was banned from competitive? The Chains of Hades already had a rocky start, with the item feeling weak and a little useless. A couple updates later, this would become one of the most overpowered items, as buffs kept coming, and at its peak, players were dealing like 240 damage in 3 seconds. Midway through the season, Fortnite removes all Greek items to make room for an Avatar collab. It felt strange, but a month later, they were back in the loot pool, including the Chains of Hades. This time, things will be different. Fortnite deleted the chains from competitive for the rest of the season, banning the item from all tournaments. Considering they're exclusive to the Greek theme, this was basically a death sentence, guaranteeing the chains will never return. When it comes to your favorite Fortnite outfits, there is a good chance their original design was totally different. Epic's artists will design a ton of different concepts before one is finally approved, and once it gets turned into a real skin, sacrifices come with it. For example, Aphrodite's first concept, where she had a completely different outfit. The hair, the overcoat, her shoes, almost everything was simplified in game. Well, sadly, that's the reality of game development. Concepts are just art. Bringing them to life is way more complicated. Now you know this, you'll never look at your favorite outfit again. They might have a secret edit style that just never released. As this video goes on, these will get harder to remember, like Creative Royale. Originally, this was supposed to let us create our own Battle Royale LTMs, except no one actually used it. Instead, players abused it so much it was broken every update, finding glitches and exploits at every opportunity. Epic were forced to shut it down at the start of Chapter 5, temporarily working on a fix while no one even noticed it was gone. For half a year, we kinda moved on with our lives until they announced Creative Royale was never coming back, staying deleted permanently. Okay, some removals are straight up embarrassing. Fortnite dropped a Ninja Turtles collab, and then forgot one of the characters' names. In this crossover, they designed an entire song around the turtles, so listen closely. Even if of you never watched Ninja Turtles, you probably know that Ralph is not one of them. Of course, they meant Raphael, or Raph for short, and this caused them to panic and replace us with a hidden patch. Rumor has it, you can still hear the Ralph version in Festival. It's a little awkward. For players who are new to the game, they'll have no idea that Fortnite has blocked them from some cosmetics. There is now an option to hide confrontational emotes, and most people don't realize it's on by default. This means toxic dances like Take the L or Laugh It Up are hidden, so you will never be able to troll noobs ever again. They can only see it if their teammates do it. One of the biggest collabs used to have an embarrassing detail. The main character of Avatar, Aang, was released with a huge plot hole. In the show, Azula strikes him with lightning, scarring him on his back and foot. Clearly someone at Epic is a fan because they included this detail in game, but only on his spine. If you checked his foot, you notice the other scar was nowhere to be seen. Okay, so we made a video to point this out, and Epic were quick to push an update. A couple weeks later, Aang owners would jump from the battle bus and notice the plot hole had been solved. Not bad, Epic, not bad. The manholes that let us escape vaults, or rotate, or catch enemies by surprise have straight up vanished. With that in mind, it also means a huge collab has disappeared, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are nowhere to be found. We expected Fortnite to delete their mythics and stuff, but they even went through the trouble of collapsing their POI. If you try and go here, it's full of rubble. Now I mentioned earlier that manholes have vanished, but at least there's another way to teleport around, right? Well, in the middle of Season 2, Fortnite disabled porta potties and dumpsters out of nowhere. They didn't tell anyone about it, and some fans think it has to do with an Icarus Wings glitch. And if you're the kind of player to build your own weapon, you might have realized that something is missing. One of the most popular attachments, the 2x scope. It was so useful. We were playing the Greek season only for it to vanish. Instead, this has been replaced by the new thermal sight, which is a pretty good replacement, I'll be honest. That's unlike vending machines, which Fortnite did dirty. At the start of Chapter 5, every time you landed somewhere, a vending machine would always spawn, and you never had to worry about it. Well, that's until now. Since the update, it's totally random, meaning your favorite spot just got a little worse. Not to mention, Fortnite also did this to the mending machines. Now there's only a tiny chance you'll find one, so for all you healing addicts, sorry to break the news. There's another secret change that has baffled players. Cameras can be found around the map, but they're super different. Now if you're spotted by them, they will mark you for everyone to see. It's basically like a flare gun, so people could spot you from hundreds of meters away. Note to self, next time you see a camera, shoot it. You won't see one at Ritzy Rivera though, because the entire place is gone. This huge POI has been crushed by the underworld. There's basically nothing left except for these pieces, which are being dragged into the ground by roots. It's kinda ominous. A change that will benefit players has secretly appeared at Snooty Steps. Originally, we could zoom around on the light strings, but if it fell, back to the lobby for you. Now Fortnite has removed fall damage from these grind rails, making it way easier and safer to get around. Players will also be happy to see that ballistic shields are gone. When we first saw these in the Chapter 5 trailer, it blew our minds. The idea of protecting yourself and shooting was awesome, especially for zero build players. If only we realized just how infuriating they could be. Half of the fanbase loved these, the others hated it, which is kinda symbolic considering each fight with them, it was totally one-sided. Another controversial item was the Striker AR. This was a new version of the SCAR that confused everyone. We all thought it was the OG rifle from a distance, only to get close and be greeted with this. Definitely a head turner, and now you won't have to worry about this problem cause it's gone. I'm definitely surprised to learn that a useful weapon has been vaulted for no reason. The Anvil rocket launcher was perfect for taking on the SUV or whiplashes, and even though these are still in the game, the Anvil is not. Pretty weird, especially considering you can now summon cars at the shadow briefings. So it really feels like the Anvil could be a helpful tool. The last thing I expected Fortnite to change was Kratos. Since he released over 3 years ago, Epic has left him untouched, and now all of a sudden, when a Greek god season appears, they changed his face from brooding to straight up angry. If he does come back to slaughter some of our Battle Pass characters, he won't be able to use a lock-on pistol. I mean, it's not really Kratos' style, but if it's yours, you might want a different strategy. This was an older weapon that came back in Chapter 5, except it wasn't moddable and felt out of place, so naturally, Fortnite waved it goodbye. Pretty crazy, but I'm definitely not surprised that the grapple blade hasn't made it. Now we have Wings of Icarus. It's not exactly a fair comparison, one is so much better than the other. Most players agree, and that's why the grapple blade won't be missed that much. In fact, tons of people never realized it was gone. But another controversial item is the business turret. For some reason, they brought this back midway through Season 1, and the response was interesting. Noobs absolutely loved it, and that's exactly why the rest of us were not fans. Luckily, there were way cooler items to play with, making the turret perfect for removal. Players were definitely definitely shocked though when they logged in and realized their outfit was disabled. Anyone using Jack Skellington had a random surprise learning he was blacklisted for no reason. For over 24 hours, they were banned from using their own skin, and Fortnite still hasn't said why. I think we could all agree it was a good idea to remove Crash Pad Juniors though. When they got vaulted last season, people were shocked because we already gave our opinion on this back in Chapter 4. Seems like Fortnite finally got the hint and didn't carry them over to Season 2. So fans are outraged over one change recently, and it all has to do with skins. Fortnite has spent years releasing bundles and collabs that don't break the bank. Dragon Ball Z had incredible value for money, giving you Frieza and Cell for 2,300 V-Bucks, or Goku Beerus and a pickaxe for 2,700. But recently, fans have noticed that bundles are starting to skyrocket in price. The Avatar collab dropped in Season 2 and was extremely expensive. For a single outfit and pickaxe, it's 2,000 V-Bucks, leading players to get the bundle, which costs 3,200. Well, if you haven't noticed, Fortnite only sells V-Bucks in stacks of 2,800, and now bundles are over that price, so people are basically forced to get more currency than they need just to get a collab. A lot of fans are scared this is becoming the new norm. Even the Coachella bundle looks like a good deal from a glance. Only 3,000 V-Bucks for 2 icon emotes, 2 skins, a pickaxe, a wrap, and a back bling. Except this is where things get suspicious. If you look at the individual prices for the Coachella items, Fortnite are charging $1,500 for a single outfit with no back bling. For reference, the last Coachella skins were $1,200 each. Players think they're increasing regular prices to make the bundles look like a way better deal. It's a classic business strategy. And that is just the start of secret changes happening under our noses. Another time is when they changed a beloved storyline and caused it to make no sense. This whole time, Midas has been gone from the island, and we last saw him getting devoured by a shark. Since then, a ton of reskins have dropped, but they never explained why Midas had all these versions. Obviously, they weren't canon to the story. Things have gotten strange. Over 4 years later, Epic drops another reskin, Ascendant Midas, except it feels different. This version comes with his own LTM, and for the first time in almost half a decade, they bring back the official Midas storyline. But think about it, when you go back and look at your own work from 4 years ago, all you want to do is improve it. That's exactly what Fortnite did, changing Midas' backstory to sound incredible. After getting eaten by a shark, his soul was trapped in the underworld and captured by Hades. Not just that, but when Midas broke out of the underworld, Jules had to build gauntlets to control his golden touch. It's an enticing story that gets a little tainted when you remember Midas controlled it anyway, choosing when to turn things gold. All of a sudden, it's not true and we just have to accept it. And players are not accepting an update that has caused massive backlash on social media. Fortnite shocked everyone by deleting a feature that is over 7 years old. Since the minute Battle Royale existed, we all had rarities on our cosmetics. Cheaper skins were uncommon and basic, while legendary outfits were super complex and cost a ton more. This has always been the system. Eventually, rarities turned into categories, letting players sort their cosmetics by price at a glance. Even collabs got their own sections like Marvel, Gaming Legends, or the Icon series. Yet after this whole time, no one was expecting to log in, view their locker, and find rarities deleted. A huge part of the community is terrified that it'll affect prices. I mean, we already talked about how bundles are secretly going up, and now that you can't tell the difference between a legendary and a rare outfit, what does this mean for all item shop skins? Now, on the other hand, Epic addressed this concern, claiming it doesn't change their approach or the way they price things. Apparently, this was to simplify the appearance of Fortnite and remove outdated BR-inspired systems, but fans are still pretty mad though, considering this was community noted. That's not the only way Fortnite has done us dirty. The Battle Pass has always been an insanely good value for money. 950 V-Bucks, and if you complete it, you'll earn more than what you spent on it. I mean, how cool is that? Except Epic has been sneaky. For the last couple of seasons, they have moved the V-Bucks tiers further and further away until finally putting them in bonus rewards. Now, finishing the Battle Pass gives you less V-Bucks than ever before. If you want the regular amount, you need to keep leveling up beyond that, reaching extra tiers. What I'm saying is, next time you feel like your V-Bucks count is running lower than usual, this is probably why. A change you absolutely didn't notice involves medallions. Yeah, they were completely overhauled in Season 2, but there was a secret update long before that. At the beginning, medallions looked like this in your inventory, a nice clean 3D icon. It really stood out, but within 2 weeks, these unique icons will be gone, replaced with flat 2D versions, and you probably never even realized. One of the strangest additions was the Coachella set. The skins look great and everything, but it also had an Icon series emote in the bundle. One of these was Paint the Town Red by Doja Cat, and as players went to view it, they realized the word devil was censored. This, alongside the actual swear words, meant that half the song was blank blanked out in the emote, which, I mean, it kinda sucked. In fact, the official radio edit of the song doesn't even censor Devil. Fortnite must have got a different version from the record label because they immediately told us this will be reversed in the next update. A change that totally went under the radar involves gold bars. They've been in the game for quite a while now, so you'd think we'd notice if they were redesigned, except you didn't because it was so tiny. Originally, these bars had an Imagined Order logo on them because they were used during the Bounty Hunter season. Entire chapters passed, the IO were defeated, yet the logo remained. Well, till a random update in the middle of nowhere secretly changed this iconic symbol to an even more famous one, V-Bucks. A change that shouldn't have happened involves Zeus. As king of the gods, you'd expect him to be super powerful. And yeah, he looks pretty strong if I do say so myself. But then you look at his Lego version, something's different. He has a massive scar across his right eye. It is very noticeable, and yet on the regular outfit, this is nowhere to be seen. Fans also pointed to the sprays in the battle pass, showing Zeus with his missing scar and even a fake blue eye. Clearly this was a part of his concept art until the last second. Kinda like how they got rid of Midas's glasses days before release. I wonder why. If only they changed Mystique back in the day, because she is still proving herself as pay to win. Turns out, at the start of Chapter 5, Fortnite added a secret button, letting us toggle walk. This meant we didn't have to jog around or tactical sprint everywhere. There was an option to move just like an NPC. When you pair that with Mystique, it becomes overpowered pretty quickly. But even with this strategy, barely anyone knows about the walking mechanic.
Here we go, here we go. Yes! Let's go!
And we are tired of the constant changes to supply drops. These were untouched for the longest time, so when Fortnite replaced them with combat caches, it freaked out everyone. It felt weird to play a match without supply drops, so when they reappeared in Fortnite OG, it was like seeing an old friend. Except this joy wouldn't last long, as Chapter 5 immediately brought us back to the cache system. Fans were pretty annoyed, and our feedback was heard by Epic, who came up with a fresh way to bring supply drops back. Now these don't parachute from the sky in the middle of a game, you have to physically call them in using a briefing station. Honestly, I don't care what it takes, as long as combat caches are gone forever. Hopefully Midas isn't though. I mentioned how they retconned his story, but not how it ended. Turns out once he escaped, Midas met up with his old crew and took back the iconic yacht from 2020. It was updated from a society design to Shadow, and players were super hyped, wondering what would happen next. Would they upgrade the boat, maybe take it around the map? Nah, before we knew it, the crew had better things to do and left Fortnite's island for good. But hey, they're probably trying to get away from all of these juniors. Epic is slowly changing the way utility items work. Things like the crash pad were made smaller and less useful, giving it the name Crash Pad Junior. We thought this was a one-off kind of deal until they dropped another throwable, the Shield Bubble Junior. It worked like usual, but this time just a smaller dome. We have no idea why Fortnite is making tiny versions of old items, but they are, and it's starting to become the norm. I don't think the originals will ever come back. And I also don't think snipers will be the same. When Chapter 5 first dropped, these were everyone's go-to. You could pop enemies with a single shot. Yeah, it was OP, but it was also incredibly satisfying. This started to become a major problem though, and Fortnite had to do something about it. So they decided the best thing was to ruin snipers by adding huge bullet drops. The fall off is super extreme and the bullet travels way slower, making it almost impossible to predict shots from a distance. Now, not all changes are bad. Fortnite has started to listen to fans who buy instruments. These cosmetics aren't nearly as popular as skins or pickaxes because you can only use them with jam tracks. Despite this, they cost more than some pickaxes, with guitars and drum kits going for 1,000 V-Bucks. If they were part of a collab like the Ninja Turtles, it would be even more than that. Eventually, Epic must have realized no one was paying for these and lowered the price to around 800, giving current owners their V-Bucks back. While Fortnite changes stuff like bounties to get more complicated, other things are made simpler. Every time you boot up the game on console or PC, you can expect to be greeted with the key art and theme music blasting. It still happens, but ever since Chapter 5, Epic changed this. Usually the loading screen will be updated every single season, but with the introduction of LEGO, Festival, and Rocket Racing, the art is now stuck as the metaverse of Fortnite. It's been 2 seasons of this, and players are worried we might only get a new one every year. But it's not just Chapter 5 that has changed the game permanently, because it's been over 2 years since Reboot vans also got an upgrade. That last revamp had to spawn through a rift rather than directly onto the van. It was a pretty cool change and made you less vulnerable off spawn, although it means a lot of people have forgotten the old version. It didn't return with OG, and now they've updated them again. Before, the charge would slowly go down after canceling a reboot, but now it stays, allowing you to pick up on your progress or even your enemies. Even the NPCs on the island have evolved over the years. At this point, they are practically sentient. They used to just be characters you could find for quests, but over time got upgrades like selling weapons, instant healing, and rifts. Eventually, Epic gave us the ability to hire them, and this is where it started getting crazy. Hired NPCs would now have their own specialty, from recon to supply. They would not only follow you around and attack like a teammate, but even had abilities like dropping you extra loot. Just when we thought they couldn't get any better, we suddenly command them to wait, move locations, and they would even revive you. These guys are more useful than my friends. To top it all off, Fortnite just pulled off the most overpowered change yet. Usually you have to defeat a boss and guards to get a hold of a mythic, but in Chapter 5, Midas just straight up sold one. However, there was still a catch, only one in stock, so it meant first come, first serve. It's pretty well known that Vibin was a widely disliked season, but one of the best parts was the introduction of animal taming. After so long, we could finally take our befriended wolves and boars, letting us ride them around. It was a pretty fun feature, especially ramming enemies off cliffs with them, but it wasn't long before it got left behind and eventually removed. And recently, some players have found themselves chased by force ghosts. Okay, well, it's not Star Wars, but instead hologram NPCs. Epic updated them, so when you get eliminated, ones you hired would respawn as a ghost and slowly walk back to their original destination so people could still interact with them. But what about if you're still alive? It turns out, if just your follower gets killed, their ghost won't know what to do and will continue to follow you as a glowing hologram for the rest of the game. That shows everyone where you are, and the worst part, they can't even do anything to help you now. Not the only recent change either, Fortnite also dropped a huge rework to consumables. Chapter 5 made it so we can now walk while using them, but that also means you can't cancel it. Medkits and shields now work as you apply them, so if you stop, it'll just discard the rest, which a lot of players aren't happy about. And the same goes for Epic deleting tons of skins. When Fortnite was forced to add ratings to creative maps, it meant not all cosmetics were allowed. Any skin that was scary, had guns, or even bullets attached to them were all blocked from experiences rated under 12. Thankfully, Epic heard our complaints and lifted the rules on weapons, unlocking 99% of them again. But with the new restrictions, it doesn't look like they'll ever allow some of the best cosmetics in kids maps again. And if you thought that's the end of Fortnite's new changes, then you've probably forgotten about the UI. Epic has been updating everything from the lobby to the shop, and now even the locker. The community hasn't been too happy about the updates, especially since Discovery has so many problems. Thankfully, Epic is listening and working on some adjustments, but it doesn't look like we'll ever see the classic layouts again. I feel like sometimes they just like to remove fun. The icon emotes are usually viral TikTok dances or iconic memes like the Maya He emote. It was based on an old YouTube video called Numa Numa, but the description was originally a great reference until they changed it. Right before release, it was switched to a boring old sentence. I mean, come on, Epic. That's not even the worst update they've given an emote. Back in 2018, the rocket spinner was leaked and one of the craziest we had seen, literally giving you a flying platform. Everyone was hyped to buy it, but when it dropped, it had secretly changed to a hologram. Back then, Epic worried about cosmetics looking like real items or weapons, so they made everything holographic. Fast forward to 2024, and we have emotes like this, so maybe we'll get the old version one day. Although there's no chance for old vehicles. Cars like the sedan will likely never come back now that we have customizable cars. Epic gave us a whole new section in the locker to choose a vehicle body, paint, and decals, so whenever you hop in a Whiplash, it'll transform into your custom car. It seems pretty cool, but this means they can never take this away, so we'll forever be stuck with the Whiplash and probably never see things like the normal sedan again. One feature you could count on never getting changed again has been with us for 2 years. Mantling was added all the way back with Zero Build in Chapter 3, and it hasn't been updated since. Now you'd think they'd take it away at some point, but considering we went back to Fortnite OG and it was still enabled, it looks like the feature is here to stay. Not all rarities are set in stone. Occasionally, Epic updates cosmetics over time to adjust the price or make corrections. But one of the strangest ones is a simple 200 V-Buck emote. Of course, I'm talking about Snap. It used to be uncommon and even had its own Easter egg with Thanos, but people loved it so much, Fortnite had to convert it to the Marvel rarity. Then they sold it alongside the skin, which was perfect. At least it doesn't affect the gameplay, unlike vehicle fuel. Originally, this was added to cars with the Joyride update, and it wasn't too bad until Epic took things way too far, making it required for everything. Boats, quad crashers, even choppas need to be fueled up. Just imagine parking a plane in a gas station. The worst part, most of them ate fuel, so you can barely travel the map before running empty. Now there was one change so long ago that most players never got to see it. Getting a win is great, but the screen used to look like this until Season 5, adding the new slow-mo and animated Victory Royale sign forever. Epic hasn't touched it since, but I don't blame them, some parts of Fortnite are just too iconic to change. They had no hesitation to ruin a pair of skins back in 2019 when players players realized the toy soldier set was pay to win. These guys could blend perfectly into grass and rocks, going viral for enemies walking straight past them. Eventually, Epic had to step in, covering them in mud and making them much darker. But with 4 years of evolution from the cartoony graphics, people want to see the original styles back. I just don't know how I feel about it. One update that everyone forgets about is an item we have every game, the pickaxe. For half of Chapter 1, these only did 10 damage, meaning it would take a lot of swings to beat someone down. Eventually, they became useless as weapons with player skill increasing, so they got updated with double the damage, being able to elim someone in only 5 hits. One change that almost nobody has noticed is the lack of original dances. When the game started, they remade popular songs and dances with original music. But since Fortnite blew up and had multiple court cases over this, they decided to just license the real thing to make icon emotes, leaving the days of parody dances behind. Not the only insane change, because Fortnite once released an R-rated song. Fishy Flourish was a brand new dance for Fish Stick and even came with its own music pack, but when it dropped, people noticed one line. Okay, it was definitely strange, so it took Epic no time to notice, and it was already changed in the next update. One thing Epic will never go back on is the most successful part of the Battle Pass, collabs. Since Chapter 2 introduced Deadpool, we've had at least one collab in every pass since then, from Iron Man and Darth Vader to Optimus Prime and Peter Griffin. And the community still can't get over the decision to make chapters end every year. Instead of spending 8 or 10 seasons on a single map, we are only given 4 before the whole thing is obliterated or lost to time. It has players feeling no connection to each chapter and their islands, but it looks like there's no turning back now. Although, we are still able to hear the old audio from Make It Rain. Right before the emote release, Epic changed the music from to this. One change that will forever alter Fortnite's history was all down to Donald himself. The 7 were originally planned to be alternate versions of each other from different realities, with the second introduced as Visitor Volta. Well, all of that changed when he was renamed to the Scientist, and every member was a completely different person, which if you ask me sounds like the right choice. The entire story could have been different. Kind of like the new movement animations that left a lot of players frustrated. We were all taken back by the change when we dropped in for the first time, with everything being slower and looking a lot more realistic. Turns out they were working on this for over a year, so there wasn't any turning back. Instead, they fixed the speed, making it faster again, but keeping the new animations for good. And the same goes for the design of the battle bus. Since the beginning, it's always been iconic, but it used to be a boring model with no movement. In fact, the most interesting appearance was the crashed bus in Chapter 1. We love this place and wanted to see more use out of Fortnite's most famous vehicle. Thankfully, Epic updated it over time, giving us a refined model every chapter. However, after the return to OG, it is guaranteed we'll never see the truly original bus ever again. When Rocket League vehicles first dropped in the shop, the prices were crazy, over 4,000 V-Bucks for a single car. With enough feedback from the fans, Epic was persuaded to change them, reducing the prices by almost half. Even OG Fortnite had some features missing when the season arrived, making a lot of players feel like it wasn't the true experience. From tilted towers missing an entire building to quad crashers not flying, it felt weird. The strangest one has got to be Epic using the Chapter 2 pump model, even after they showed the OG version in the art. Why you gotta mess with us like that? Yes, it is officially true, an entire rarity has been axed from the game. As you explore Chapter 5, you'll notice that keys aren't dropping anymore. They're gone along with the hollow chest they were used to open, but this has caused a massive feature to be secretly deleted. Exotic weapons, they are nowhere to be found in Chapter 5. In Chapter 4, you'd be minding your own business until a rift encounter took you by surprise. They always had an item worth taking, and we were excited to see the new encounters in Chapter 5. Well, about that, there isn't any. The whole feature is now gone, and no one knows when it'll return. Now let's talk about a change that nobody's noticed, which is hiding in ammo boxes. Most of us just open these and move on with our lives, yet if you paid attention to what you got from these crates, you would notice something is totally missing. In the past, whenever you opened a big ammo box, you would almost always get a shield potion from it. Well, not anymore. They are gone from Chapter 5, so you'll have to stick to floor loot for your precious heals. Fortnite has also secretly removed a game-changing feature. In Chapter 3 and 4, we had our minds blown by timber pines. These special trees could be cut down, and they would have physics for rolling down rivers or crushing players to death. It was incredible, and we expected it to survive the upgrade to a new island. Well, we were wrong. The new map doesn't include a single timber pine. I didn't see that one coming. And I definitely wasn't expecting daily quests to be removed. You heard me right. Fortnite has disabled regular daily challenges, replacing them with the ones that appear at the start of a match. You only have 3 to choose from, and yet you still have to complete all of them to get the bonus XP. So instead of cranking out all your daily quests in one match, it has to be at least 3 separate games now. Not to mention, Party Assist is a no-go. go. Safe to assume players do not like this change. But they are happy to see the removal of Fortnite's most annoying item. Now that fishing is back, we can return to chilling on the dock and collecting some small fry. In fact, it's almost too relaxing in Chapter 5, so something's wrong. Well, Fortnite has secretly removed the most common fishing reward, rusty cans. Now, you won't be pulling this useless garbage out of the water. It is guaranteed to be a healing item, which is so much better. Fortnite puts a lot of work into these features, and that's why it's shocking when some of the biggest changes get removed after a couple months, like mud. This had so much detail and effort behind it. We were expecting mud to reappear in at least some Chapter 5 locations. It's just wet soil, they could add it anywhere, but I guess they chose to abandon it entirely. And even though slap juice has been removed, there's still a secret way to get it. You might have noticed that splashes and regular bottles are gone, but not the barrels. These are still scattered around the map if you need unlimited stamina. I just hope they bring back the slap splashes though, because they were insanely useful. But I really don't want to see the return of moving llamas. These have finally been added to the vault. We thought Epic got rid of them for the OG season and would bring them back in Chapter 5, but that's not the case. They must have seen how popular this change was, deciding to give us motionless llamas instead. It is just so refreshing to not chase these guys around anymore. Not the only feature that's been replaced, upgrade benches are nowhere to be found, and it's all because of weapon mods. I mean, obviously you could see this coming. If we could add attachments to weapons, what's the point in spending gold on a new rarity? Although in my opinion, they should have incorporated upgrade benches into these new modding stations, cause you'll spend all this gold just to be stuck with a gray shotgun. A feature that only lasted a few months was ruthlessly wiped from the game. Wilds brought us the jungle and a bunch of new features like these special plants. They would give a huge jump boost, slurp effect, create stink clouds, or even explode. We've all used them at some point for the shields, but now they are gone. The same goes for an item that Epic's made useless. With the new changes allowing you to heal on the go, the med mist was the only item that could do that. Now there's no point in keeping it around, so it's no surprise they removed it. And for any players that like to collect free items, the new change to rank rewards is horrible. Until now, you would get one easy quest for each match you play, slowly earning all the items. But now you have to play even longer because urgent quests have been removed entirely. Instead, now you gotta survive storm circles all the way up to a total of 99. Yeah, that's a lot. And you won't be able to rely on slurp juice to survive either. This was easily the most OP consumable of Chapter 4, acting like a chug jug, which only took half a second to use. Almost everyone had them and loved the new changes. Obviously it left for OG, but when we returned, most of us expected to see it back. It looks like Fortnite had other plans, vaulting the item instead. I will say this, I don't think anyone's complaining though, it was the worst to fight against. But it makes sense they're gone, especially when you realize you could get them from capture points. These things were a cool addition to Chapter 4, allowing you to mark a huge area for chests and enemies while claiming a bunch of high-level loot. They were honestly useful, so I'm shocked they've been removed from all POIs. It wasn't the only way to fly around in Chapter 4 either. We all got pretty used to the geysers. These are basically natural launch pads around the map and were amazing for mobility, but despite the fresh new island, there is none on it. At least you can still find random launch pads at the top of mountains. But don't expect to place any yourself, because traps did not make it to Chapter 5. Whether it's a launch pad, cozy campfire, or the iconic spikes, everyone loved using them in OG, but sadly, none have made it over. As one of the most controversial POIs of Chapter 1, the block was an incredible idea when it began. It allowed us to design our own locations and get them on the map. Sounds amazing on paper. Then one user added a graphic scene into a basement. Things went south quickly, forcing Epic to delete the original location and never bring it back. That doesn't mean community-driven features should all be removed though. In Chapter 1, we had item shops that would let us vote on who to add. It would give us a few options to choose from, with the winner immediately dropping and the others releasing later. For some, this felt incredible, like we had power, and the rest wanted all of them to drop at the same time. As a result, this feature only happened 4 times and has never returned. Still wasn't as exclusive as the Galaxy skin though. This was only for people who owned a Samsung Galaxy Note 9 or Tab S4, which cost between $700 and $1,000. People used to raid stores to play the demo phones to try and earn it for free. It was a big deal. Of course, as an exclusive, this skin will not be coming back, even if Samsung is joking about it on Twitter. Then we have a feature which never should have left in the first place. Throughout Chapter 1, Fortnite released a variety of toys to use, whether it's golf, basketball, bottle flipping, you name it. To date, they're the most interactive emotes we have ever had, and people love them. And so that's why it made no sense for Fortnite to stop releasing these. Now the OG island is back, only veteran players can take full advantage of the basketball courts and the soccer fields. When Epic deletes something from the game, they never talk about it, sometimes from embarrassment, like the removal of wasps. Yeah, in Season 4, the jungle was still here, but the annoying insects that filled it were suddenly gone. You were supposed to collect them in jars and use it as a weapon, but the damage was insanely low, so nobody used this, just like the Nitro Drifter. This came in with Mega City and was meant to be some kind of upgrade from the sedan, but let's be honest, everyone chose bikes instead. Now, a feature that overstayed its welcome is finally gone. You might have gone to your favorite drops like Mega City, Brutal Bastion, or Shattered Slabs and realized something's missing, and that would be the most annoying boss of Chapter 4, High Card. If you wanted to get into these vaults, this was the guy with the key card, and Fortnite rinsed him for months. Every new season, we'd expect at least a different boss or mythic, only for High Card to show up and disappoint everyone. They even got our hopes up for the Most Wanted event just for them to reuse him again. And thankfully, he is nowhere to be found in Season 4, but it leaves you wondering what happened to his vaults. Well, he must have taken the loot with him because they were all ransacked. We have also learned that Fortnite removed one of its named POIs, probably one of the least popular areas, and that's why Lonely Labs is missing from Season 4. Epic replaced this with a way better POI, Sanguine Suites. But it's kind of funny when you realize Lonely Labyrinth was just added weeks before it, so they put all that work in for nothing. I'm sure a lot of players will miss Lonely Labs, but no one is upset about the removal of grenades. Of course, it's one of the oldest items in Battle Royale, so we've had plenty of time to use these over the years. Thanks to this, Epic tried to spice things up and completely nerf them. Fans weren't happy, and the grenades were so terrible that barely anyone picked them up. Let's just say Fortnite learned their lesson, and that's why the item has been quietly deleted. It makes sense, but one thing is confusing everyone in Season 4. Over in the jungle POIs like Rumble Ruins or Shady Stilts, the vaults just let you in. Usually you'd have to do an elaborate puzzle to open it, whether it was sacrificing loot or choosing the right statue, but the heist theme has nothing to do with the jungles, so they could have just left it untouched, but they decided to delete all the puzzles anyway. And they really embarrassed themselves with the Dragon's Breath items. Let me explain. In the final update of Season 3, we got a new perk, Fire Armory. This gave you the shotgun and sniper instantly, which sounded great until an hour later when the perk was removed in a hotfix. It must have been added by accident because Fortnite didn't say anything about it. Last week, they dropped yet another hotfix bringing Fire Armory back into the game. Well, I hope you enjoyed using it because once again, it is gone with Season 4. Now, if you're one of the players who love the snow biome, you might remember a frog at Lonely Labs. Feels super random, but Fortnite always throws in a cute little Easter egg. But if you tried to go here afterwards, the whole POI was, of course, gone. Don't worry though, they've actually saved the frog and you can find a stone version at Relentless Retreat. You also could have found a mammoth pistol if it was still there. Yeah, no one expected this to vanish in Season 4. Fortnite only added it a month before and it was insanely fun. When you get people across between the hand cannon and flintlock, they're gonna love it until they nerfed this thing near the end of the season. The response was pretty mixed, but clearly Fortnite didn't want to touch it anymore, so they got rid of it instead. It reminds me of the explosive repeater. This was also pretty loved by fans with being overpowered at the same time, and it got the exact same fate. At this point, we need a happier ending, so let's seek out the Coral Buddies, except when you go to their island, it's not there. I mean, pretty understandable, there is a massive hotel here now, but what happened to the Coral Buddies? I know Kato Thorne is a vampire, but even he can't be evil enough to get rid of them. We previously left them with Triggerfish to give them a new sanctuary, but now they have both vanished. Even their conch is gone. Someone is missing from the island, and they are way more important than some Coral Buddies. Dr. Sloan made a surprise appearance when her abandoned tank was found in the jungle. She eventually released with a new skin and NPC, leading us through the entire questline with dialogue and missions. It's only for her to be completely absent in Season 4. I mean, sure, Tank is there, but no Sloan. And that's just like the unreleased outfit that was never supposed to be found. Gabby LeMay's loading screen looks pretty normal on the surface until you see an alternate version with an extra character. This was clearly not meant to be out there because this guy has never been seen in Fortnite. Whether it's scrapped or simply unreleased, we'll have to wait and find out. Not to mention, a fan favorite POI has also mysteriously vanished. When Relentless Retreat came out, it dropped in the ocean, so you wouldn't expect anywhere to be replaced, but compare it with the previous map and it actually took a big chunk out of the island. Thanks to this, a popular landing spot called Meadow Mansion got caught on the crossfire. Ouch. If you didn't notice it was gone, then you probably didn't land here enough, but there is an item that most people are happy to see vanish. By now, we should know that every new Fortnite item is cursed. Within days, they are either way too fun and get nerfed, or way too broken and get vaulted. It's just how things work around here, and one example is the kinetic boomerang. This was a complete disaster, going in and out of the loot pool until Epic finally brought it back for good near the end of the season. Because of these problems, players expected it to maybe stick around, but we should have guessed it was doomed from the very start. Goodbye, Boomerang, you'll be sorely missed by a few people. Then you compare it to an amazing item like the Grapple Glove. It's the successor to the infamous Spidey Mythic, so of course these were some big shoes to fill. Sometimes it's done that, but after constant nerfs and buffs, the fanbase does have mixed opinions. Regardless, the glove comes and goes every season, and it fitted perfectly into the jungle biome. Swinging from tree to tree helped mobility so much, but you should have enjoyed that while you had the chance, because it's naturally vanished from the loot pool. Very similar to Chapter 4's largest POI. Honestly, for a video about things secretly removed, I gotta admit, this is not a secret at all. You can tell immediately that the Citadel is missing because it was gigantic, but it has major consequences. This was the home of the Oathbound, the place where the Riftgate had everyone speculating. A lot has happened here, and it felt like the center of Chapter 4 storyline, only for it to be replaced overnight with no explanation. Let's head back to the jungle biome, where one of the most useful items has been vaulted. In Wilds, everyone was expecting to get their hands on the Cloak Gauntlets. It was a total reskin of the Predator Mythic, but they actually improved it a ton. For all the work they put into this thing, you would expect it to last longer than 4 weeks. I'm guessing they removed it because of the new vaults. If you could just turn invisible and walk past all the henchmen, it'd be pretty overpowered. And people are also bummed out because the most popular location of Chapter 4 has been deleted. In the middle of the island, there was Slap and Go, a gas station that everyone landed at. I mean, it was always full of players and connected tons of POIs. Well, now if you drop here, there is nothing, and Fortnite knew how much we liked this place, so they left behind an Easter egg. Land here in Season 3, and it's turned from Slap and Go to Slap and Gone. I mean, they're really rubbing it in. And I feel like I woke up in a cold sweat when I saw this announcement. After years, harvesting tools has been replaced, but I should probably mention, it's just the name. Since day one, we've equipped them and seen the words harvesting tool in the corner, and now, for the first time ever, it's gone. They're finally just called pickaxes. Maya came out years ago and was the first ever customizable skin. So, the randomize button never existed, and when it came out, it broke everything. If a randomize landed on Maya, she would have a random style too, which would edit your customization from years ago. These were previously locked in, and yeah, Fortnite's fixed it, so for anyone who wanted to keep their new version, it has been reverted back to how it was before. But the biggest removal from Season 3's map is Anvil Square. This was one of the largest POIs when Chapter 4 came out, and last season it got even more interesting with the Attack on Titan collab. It was revealed to be inspired by Shiganshina, and in one of the houses you could find Eren Yeager's family basement. Now all of this, along with the Thunder Spears, are impossible to find. But moving on, one of the coolest pistols we've ever had is the Flintlock, and it was actually usable during Mega. Some people had no idea because you'd only find it through a reality augment. It immediately gave you the Flintlock, which was awesome, but hold your excitement because it was nowhere to be found with Season 3. Epic removed the perk, and with it, the Flintlock is banished to the vault again. Another unexplained event was the Burn Bright emote. This could be earned for free during Mega, and it was a simple reward, nothing too special, right? Except, whenever people used it, their game crashed, and the problem got so bad that Fortnite had to remove the emote until they find a solution. At least fights are less chaotic thanks to the removal of the most destructive weapon of Chapter 4, rocket launchers. You won't get obliterated anymore, and this also means Epic has completely vaulted rocket ammo. But at least you'll be glad to hear the most annoying feature in years has also been removed, and I think we're all celebrating. Previously, you would shoot someone, and within seconds they would rift out of there, making fights ridiculously frustrating. It was all thanks to the Riftjector perk. As soon as your shield broke, it gave you a quick escape, and people were abusing it hard. Now that it's gone, society can finally heal. The Cuddle Team Leaderhead was built during the Vibin season, and since then, it's remained on the island for as long as possible, even sticking around for a new chapter. We were all rooting for this place to go further, but just like Lil Whip, it couldn't survive Mega City dropping right on top of it. One of the best features of Chapter 4 was this secret snowball mechanic that appeared when you pickaxe the ground. You could hide in it, roll it down a hill, use it for cover. It was incredible, and for some reason, Fortnite has disabled it, thinking nobody would notice. Something that's impossible to miss is the removal of the Shockwave Hammer. Arguably the most iconic weapon we've had in years, and the question on everyone's mind was, will this appear in the future? Well, of course we logged in, and our local Oathbound chests were nowhere to be found, and I don't know if they'll ever return. I am still grieving over the loss of a beloved POI that was only in the game for a season, but became a fan favorite anyway. Faulty Splits had a bowling alley, a hot dog restaurant, and some destroyed offices, overall pretty unique, and historically, Fortnite has never removed a new chapter POI after just one season, but of course, Faulty Splits had to be the first. At least you can find the remains of this place for the rest of Chapter 4, letting us pay our respects. But if you use vehicles like a normal person, you're probably gonna be upset once you hear what Epic did to them. Now, thankfully, they didn't vault the classic ones, but they did remove Chonker's tires, which have been in the game since the primal season. It is a double slap in the face because cow catchers are gone too. These things were honestly pretty underrated, letting you tear through an entire POI without stopping. That's right, motorboats have been vaulted, meaning there's no way to speed around the rivers or spend all game fishing in the ocean anymore. The only time they've been removed was during events like Fortnite and Most Wanted, but now they're straight up gone. It's pretty crazy that they managed to survive 14 seasons, but items like the Guardian Shield only lasted for 1. This was a lifesaver for zero build players, letting you carry an impenetrable barrier for all angles, not to mention the fact that it recharged. There is one secret removal that no one's complaining about. When Chapter 4 started, players had some strong feelings about the Excalibur. It was basically an explosive crossbow 10 times more powerful than the Boom Sniper. Not only did it deal 135 damage, but for a few weeks, it could shoot through walls. Yeah, I don't think anyone's gonna miss it too much. I can't say the same though about one of Fortnite's most revolutionary items. The Falcon Scout was only given to us a season prior, with memories of controlling the guided missile. But this time, it wasn't a weapon, it was a scouting tool. It allowed you to target and mark enemies, open supply drops, and even pick up down players. The thing was insane, especially when working with your teammates, but now it is gone, and we might never see it again. At least you could look at some Battle Pass rewards coming out soon. A lot of people weren't a fan of the mid-season drops last time, making you earn 10 levels for each style. So Epic changed it to quest rewards. Now they give you extra cosmetics for simply completing weekly challenges. But a lot of pros were unhappy when Fortnite announced that they were vaulting Late Game Arena once again. It was one of the most popular modes in the competitive scene, but for some reason, they hardly keep it in. With a brand new map, all anyone wants to do is explore it, but Epic has made that harder than ever by vaulting the most useful mode, Battle Lab. It wasn't just disabled, this has been permanently deleted from the game, meaning you can't use it to discover new locations, test items, or even mess around with friends. But one change that wasn't a glitch is the removal of the most hated animal. It looks like sharks didn't survive the entire island exploding, and I think people are gonna be happy about that. They were kind of annoying with them randomly attacking, stopping you from fishing, and having almost no loot. Not to mention the fact that almost everyone forgot you could ride them. In Chapter 3, we could rely on Chrome to repair almost anything, healing walls, cars, even people. It made the repair torch practically useless, but now they have both been removed. The Dial-A-Drop allowed you to instantly spawn a supply drop at your feet that could give you heals, weapons, or even a pickup truck. It was one of the most unique items in Chapter 3 and was in the works for years, only to be removed with no explanation. One of the craziest things happened in 2023 when Tidy was brought back after 4 years. This is already surprising, but then it got weirder because 1 hour later, it vanished from the item shop. Now, it had copyright issues in the past with Snoop Dogg, which is why it didn't release for so long, but Epic messed up again. Tidy was brought back with hippie skins, which is hilarious, but also pretty controversial. No wonder it was deleted so fast. Now, a lot of fans are saying that the most disappointing part of Chapter 4 was the Fracture event. It failed to answer a lot of questions, but there's actually a reason for this. In the files, people found deleted scenes from the event, and one of them includes the last reality. When the island got destroyed, a giant mothership was originally going to steal the 0 point, and that's until it fights back, destroying the ship and flying away. If this was cut, who knows what else Fracture had in store for us? That is unlike the Harpoon Gun, which has been vaulted for the first time since its introduction in Chapter 2. It was the best at fishing and even became a powerful weapon if you knew how to use it, especially when throwing your enemies off a cliff. And speaking of enemies, one item that totally overstayed its welcome has finally been removed. The IO car was a sedan with increased speed and fuel, but thanks to the island's destruction, they have been all wiped out. Now, Epic didn't just vault the best vehicle, they also secretly removed Chapter 3's greatest weapon. I'll say it, the goo gun was a super controversial item that was loved by some and hated by a lot of others. You could fire a trail of explosive goo that stuck to players and structures, absolutely melting them, so I'm sure some people are happy to see it gone. But that is unlike Fortnite's most disappointing mystery, which will never get answered. In Chapter 3, the Foundation statue had 2 stone doors that were completely sealed shut. We had high hopes they would open during the event, as these doors weren't affected by Chrome. But joke's on us, the entire thing has been deleted. The statue even appeared in a new loading screen, so Epic is just trolling us at this point. One thing you can't revert is the removal of D-launchers. They were great for flying across the map and taking no fall damage. I mean, they came in clutch when running from the storm and lasted just 1 season before Epic moved on. The Chapter 4 map also removed a key feature that you totally forgot about. Since the reality tree completely died, the sapling item was taken away from us and we won't be seeing them around anytime soon. They really changed up the gameplay. I mean, being able to find a guaranteed mythic, it was a little overpowered. Speaking of great loot, one of the best locations has been removed after 2 chapters. During Chapter 4's downtime, we spotted many different landmarks floating in space. One of them was the iconic pontoon boat, but despite being teased, it didn't make it to the island. Not only did this spot have the best loot, but gave you a huge kickstart with enough slurp barrels for your entire squad. Epic seems to love removing things that were only just introduced. The grapple glider was one of the final items to arrive in Chapter 3, but it has already been sent to the vault. It's not too surprising since hardly anyone used it because it was so much worse than the original and barely had any range. Now you can imagine how excited everyone was when we heard the motel from Chapter 1 was coming back. The sign was floating in space during downtime, and it seemed like the iconic location was finally making a return. But as soon as we loaded into the new map, it wasn't even here. And the same goes for No Sweat Insurance. We last saw it flying over the island, and the sign even appeared in space. But despite surviving so many events, they didn't make it through this one. Something that no one ever expected to get vaulted are tents. They've been in the game since Chapter 3 started, and while they've had countless bugs and been disabled, they have never been truly gone. That's until players launched into Season 4, wondering if their stashed items are wiped, only to find that tents weren't here at all. It's probably because they weren't really used much anymore, and with chrome blobs and evolving items, they'll likely just break the game. But I wish that was the end, but we even lost our beloved Truckosaurus. Since the first day of Season 2, we watched as a pile of rusty cars slowly built up just outside Coney Crossroads. Peely even crashed an entire bus there for the body. We finally got all the pieces, and Truckosaurus started to emerge as the weeks went on. We got so far, and only the head and armor left at the end of Season 3, but suddenly, it vanished. You probably forgot about the time we had a Ripsaw launcher. You can find it on the walls at the Logjam Workshop or in the normal loot pool. It was definitely a unique weapon and made for some pretty interesting gameplay, but now it's been removed. Season 3 also gave us back the Junk Rift. They were super fun to spawn a literal dinosaur or a porta potty on a player, and were especially good for taking out people in buildings. But now that everyone knows to simply run away from them, most players just weren't picking them up and were never really used. After we freed the 0 point, it also caused things to go pretty wild, but one thing it gave us was the 0 point fish. You could find them in any water around the island, and they gave you the insane ability to zero dash around, literally teleporting during any fight. Much as we love them, the chrome taking over has meant you can't catch them anymore. It was brand new for like 1 season and immediately vanished after it split the community in half. Some people thought it was way too OP with the insane fire rate, but others didn't like that you had to charge it up right in the middle of the fight, making it unreliable. Chapter 3 also brought us the 2-shot shotgun, and I think it's pretty safe to say the community really didn't like it. It was super slow to fire and didn't do enough damage to make up for it, so it has been removed. Another classic Chapter 3 weapon has also been sent to the vault, the Stinger SMG. This was another controversial weapon thanks to how overpowered it was, especially at close range. But I doubt many players are missing a gun that was practically never used. The revolver has been in the game since Season 2, but it feels like it never even returned. No one ever picked this thing up, so it's no surprise to see it removed. It is heading right back into the vault alongside the Combat AR. This gun was insanely fast, and it felt more like an SMG at times than an assault rifle, but it was pretty balanced with the recoil being ridiculously high. One item literally no one wanted to see leave was the Heavy Sniper. It comes just as Fortnite buffed them all to finally one-shot players again, and now it is being taken away. The MK7 was a game changer. Literally everyone came back in Chapter 3 to give Fortnite another shot, and the Mythic was even better. Season 2 absolutely nerfed it, and you would still be able to laser people, but now it looks like those days are over, at least for now. For now, you'll be happy to hear that a weapon everyone complained about has been snuffed. The most controversial shotgun, of course I'm talking about the drum shotgun. It had been in the vault for years until Season 3, and as soon as it came back, people began to realize exactly why it was gone for so long. This weapon literally tore the community in two, with some players loving it and others begging for it to leave. But with the war complete, that's not the only explosive entering the vault, because C4 have also vanished, and I gotta admit, it's a little sad to see them go. They were absolutely a fan favorite and super fun to mess around with, so we hope to see them make a return soon. Can't say the same for the airstrikes, which we only got to see unvaulted for a couple weeks before it was wiped from the loot pool once again. They were only really useful to force your enemies out of hiding, so I don't think too many people are gonna miss this one. Something that also could spy your hidden enemies was the thermal AR. It was re-added in Season 2 after it received several updates, making it faster and changing the thermal sight. With the season over, they returned to the vault, and even the mythic version has been removed after the Huntmaster Saber boss was taken out, along with the rest of the Imagined Order. Other mobility items were also vaulted, such as the jetpack. They have major upgrades for Season 2, especially with the new ability to hover on the spot. It made them super overpowered. But since these are are only found on IO Blimps and at the Collider, they have nowhere left to spawn, and therefore have returned to the vault. And it looks like you won't even be able to hop into a siege cannon anymore. Everyone loved the feature to launch yourself super far across the map, and they were great for mobility, but after Paradigm literally sliced the Blimps in half, none of them remain, and they've been wiped off the island. Other turrets have too, like the light and heavy 7 turrets that we funded throughout the season. The 7 have taken most of the supplies away, along with any of the other items we funded, like the choppas. These will easily be one of the most missed vehicles since, we all love them. But Epic knows how popular they are, so hopefully we see them, or maybe even a new air vehicle soon. Some other vaulted weapons include the Ranger shotgun. Introduced mid-season, this thing only had 1 bullet before you had to reload, but it was pretty powerful, just not really anyone's first choice of shotgun though. What you might not have realized is that Season 3 has also secretly removed one of Fortnite's most divisive weapons, the LMG. For years, this thing has been in and out of the loot pool, and every time we can't decide whether we love it or hate it. Either way, this thing won't be coming back for a long time. But you might be happy to hear that one of the most hated items of Chapter 3 has been finally taken out of the game, the Hunter bolt-action sniper. Even though it has 3 bullets per round, it was one of the most despised snipers in the game for its low damage, especially that it wasn't a one-shot to the head. Thankfully, we now have the heavy sniper back as a replacement, but I mean, come on, Epic, we still need that one-shot headshot back. I'm sitting here choking on my own tears, trying not to throw up when I say Colombo, who warmed the hearts of everyone, has been removed. Not only was Colombo absolutely adorable, but he also worked as a permanent launch pad, and you can feed him anything for a chance to get a free item. Unfortunately, with Season 2's arrival, Colombo was nowhere to be found, with all traces of him deleted from the game. Even Clomberries are completely gone. They were one of the most popular things to come to Fortnite in a while, and the entire community loved them. And yet, after years of waiting for this feature to come out, nobody is talking about weather being removed. 18 seasons of waiting brought us lightning and tornadoes, an incredibly game-changing experience that clearly had a ton of hype, but apparently not enough to make it into Season 2. There's a great reason as to why tornadoes weren't kept around, and that's because of all the flying POIs that appeared afterwards. But when it comes to lightning, we got no idea why it's gone. And this trend continues with yet another weapon that almost nobody has noticed is missing. One of Fortnite's most infamous weapons was first spotted in Chapter 1 when it was accidentally added into an LTM, and then had some cameos throughout Chapter 2. Of course, I'm talking about the machine pistol. It finally got its official release in Chapter 3 Season 1, and players were loving it. After spending years waiting for it to come out, we thought it would stick around longer than half a season, but Fortnite had other plans. The machine pistol can no longer be found in the game, and whether it'll actually appear again in the future is uncertain. In Season 1, Fortnite introduced Crown Royales, where if you won while wearing a victory crown, it could be tracked through an exclusive emote. People finally had a fun way to show off their wins to friends, and everyone loved it. But suddenly, when Season 2 launched, Epic Games reset all crown counts, meaning that people who had hundreds of wins were put back to square one for absolutely no reason. This one caused a lot of anger in the community, with people feeling super demotivated after they spent all that time grinding crowns just to be deleted. But not as broken as the first ever 100% llama spawn that was added in Season 1. The Chapter 3 map had a lot of secrets, but one of the most useful was at a small farm in the snow, which had a llama inside of it. It was super unique in the fact that it had a guaranteed spawn every single game, so this was a lot of players' favorite drop spot. Well, it sucks to be those guys because they dropped here in Season 2 to find that the llama spawn is now completely gone. We got no idea why Epic removed this one. It was just a really fun way to spice things up, so hopefully we get a new secret llama spawn in the future. But some items that were removed would have been super OP if they stuck around, like the flare gun. This is no longer in the meta, and if it was, it would be so broken. Nobody realized that Epic also vaulted Nathan Drake's treasure map. As a collab, it was obviously never going to stick around, but people have already forgotten about it. It at least lasted longer than the Love Heart Sky. To celebrate International Women's Day, Fortnite added a huge heart-shaped moon, and while it had an awesome purpose, something as simple as a moon messed up the game massively. For some reason, the whole Fortnite island turned greenish. It had such a weird tint, and players hated it. It's kind of hard to see at times, and instead of addressing it, it was secretly removed with the start of the new season. And something we're still shocked that no one's found is the mythic goldfish. Let me tell you, this one is definitely a puzzle. One of the easiest things to overlook when a new Fortnite season drops is whether the rarest items in the game are still there. And in Chapter 3, the hardest thing to get your hands on was the mythic goldfish. This thing had a 1 in 10,000 chance of dropping, and there have been people out there who were fishing for weeks trying to find the Chapter 3 version of the goldfish. But sadly, none of them have succeeded. Another thing that people will definitely miss is the quad crasher trick. When we logged into Chapter 3 for the first time, we were shocked to see quad crashers just sitting sitting there waiting to be used. It was an awesome surprise, and obviously the first thing everyone tried to do was fly with them. But not only did they invert the controls to throw us all off, we also realized that flying was much harder to do than before. And there's a reason for it. Epic secretly nerfed the flying trick so you can't do it infinitely anymore, completely vaulting the feature from the game. Raptors. It's safe to say that a lot of players are going to be overjoyed to know that Fortnite's Raptors are now gone. These guys were awesome when they first added, but recently they became pretty annoying, especially when bundled with every other wildlife in the game. And considering they weren't much help to us, Epic quietly yeeted them off the map once Chapter 3 came around. Another feature fans love that was removed is shakedowns. If you dropped into Chapter 3 and thought something felt like it was missing, it turns out something was. Especially when you go to pick up a downed teammate. On day 1, we were also fascinated with the new squad revive mechanic, that nobody noticed the shakedown feature was completely missing from the game. Epic removed this without telling anyone, and we only realized when some keen-eyed players pointed it out. And so while everyone has been focused on that, nobody is talking about the Hunter's Cloak. By far, one of the most forgettable and random items we've had in the last few years has been the Hunter's Cloak. This thing was useful for a solid few days until everyone forgot about it, and then it was vaulted in late Chapter 2. And then out of nowhere, Epic Games brought it back in the final few weeks of Season 8, and you were able to craft it for like 4 meat. But with Chapter 3, it turns out you can no longer do this, meaning the Hunter's Cloak is officially vaulted again. But another thing everyone forgot about was nuts and bolts. Yeah, the community has completely overlooked the fact that nuts and bolts have been removed from Fortnite, with most people forgetting they even existed. They were added back in Season 7 so you could collect them to upgrade your weapons, except we were so used to picking them up and not thinking about them that nobody noticed they were completely gone in Chapter 3. While we all thought the shopping cart was in Season 8 for a short while, it had nothing on the Icy Grappler. This was a limited time exotic weapon that was only around for less than a month. It arrived just in time for the winter season, and then when Chapter 3 released, it never stuck around. We all thought that with Chapter 3's map being 50% snow, we'd at least keep the Icy Grappler, especially for the holidays. But no, Epic didn't think it was worth bringing over. Some of the rarest items to ever be seen in Fortnite include the Mythic Mushroom, which was only in the game for 2 months. It had a 1 in 10,000 chance of spawning and gave you 100 shield instantly. Barely anyone remembers this, and it wasn't even the craziest mushroom to be deleted out of nowhere. But the mushroom would follow you around and heal you, only appearing in game for a single day. You had to bribe this guy with 100 wood, then he would become your buddy for 10 minutes. It was super broken and was clearly the first experiment with hired NPCs, which are the modern equivalent. Definitely not the shortest appearance though, that belongs to the Eye of the Storm tracker. It gave players the ability to see the next circle and was only enabled for 30 minutes. Just a handful of matches had the chance of finding it before it was deleted forever, being turned into Storm Scout snipers, forecast towers, and perks years later. You also shouldn't expect police cars to make a return. These were just decorations around the map until Chapter 2, and for pretty understandable reasons, they were quietly vaulted and never came back. We caught a glimpse of it in the canceled tutorial mission, and there were drivable police cars in the files, but those are now completely gone. And we also don't have to worry about spike traps behind every door. It was one of the most terrifying parts of early Battle Royale, and people made some very impressive trap towers with them. They came back with Cypher PK's Mythic for a few days, but it didn't mean anything, as they have been gone ever since, with traps as a whole getting phased out. It's a sad story, but it wasn't as sudden as the removal of 100% chest spawn. For the longest time, you could land somewhere, know exactly where all the loot was, and use that to calculate the best drops. This led to the popularity of places like Tilted and Pleasant Park. Until 2020, when Fortnite decided to make things luck-based, removing the 100% spawn rate. It was super controversial, leading players to drop somewhere and find absolutely nothing, which ruined the whole game. Still not as embarrassing as Fortnite's first controversy. In 2018, they dropped Season 6, including this skin, Calamity. Players quickly noticed that she had a unique feature that was completely hidden from the patch notes. For some reason, Calamity had jiggle physics that came out of nowhere. As soon as this was pointed out, Epic deleted it and said it was an unintended feature. These physics were simply an embarrassing accident, which we totally believe. But did you know about the forgotten default dance? We are used to having 2 songs, but if you've been playing Fortnite since day 1, you might remember that it included a 3rd version. This was removed because the song was inspired by George Michael's Faith, and if there's one thing Epic are known for, it is getting sued for emotes. We're pretty happy about one removal though, team killing. If you played in Season 1, you could actually deal damage to your teammates, even eliminating them if you felt like it. Every single game you were watching your back just in case your friends decided to troll you. Quickly they realized this was a bad idea, and Epic were forced to remove this in Season 2, but that didn't stop it completely. Over the years, we've had multiple ways to pull this off, like abusing cannons to launch our friends into the storm, or swapping seats in cars. In fact, at one point, Fortnite broke for a day and accidentally enabled team killing out of nowhere. Another understandable change took Fortnite by storm in 2019. Back then, it was super common to change your resolution to insane numbers, giving you a ridiculously stretched screen. This made enemies wider and easier to hit, which may or may not be true, but Epic were scared of the possibilities, so why risk it? As a result, they banned it from all tournaments in Season X, and pros tried to boycott the game, but now in 2024, we mostly accept this as a worthy removal. Even simple items can cause a huge problem, like the boombox in Chapter 1. Let me tell you, this thing absolutely obliterated structures, basically making zero build all the way back in 2019. Obviously, it wasn't great and fans weren't happy. After a massive backlash, Epic listened to players' feedback, vaulting the item permanently, and it didn't even return for OG. What about the biggest removal of all time? Something which still affects millions of people to this day, the downfall of Fortnite China. In the early days of Battle Royale, it was ridiculous. The separate version of Fortnite had no microtransactions, a free battle pass, and a time limit that allowed everyone to win the game. That's until everything vanished, and millions of Chinese players had their accounts deleted with no way to save their progress. Imagine if this happened worldwide. That is literally years of collecting skins gone overnight. And sure, you might not remember that, and the same goes for the Secret Mermaid. People totally overlooked the Maeve skin from Chapter 2. Most players forgot she even existed. But even less know about her secret ability. If you jumped into the water and started swimming, a shark tail would appear. We've had all types of rarities throughout the chapters, but the Gray RPG lasted for less than a season. They were so easy to find and not terrible at all, so they quickly got removed. They could always come back, unlike one of the rarest skins in Fortnite, Peely. Alright, I know what you're thinking, this guy is everywhere, like 80% of players have him, but what about the fully gold version? This was a super style for a secret agent outfit in Chapter 2, and in order to grab it, you needed to reach level 350, making it the hardest skin to earn in Battle Pass history. There's one feature which is still around, except nobody remembers it was originally a glitch. Back in Chapter 1, if you enabled auto pickup when walking over items, it would secretly work when down. This was a total bug and Epic quickly removed it, hoping no one would notice, until they realized, hey, this might actually be a good idea. And years later, this was turned into a feature. If you were around back then, you'll also know how everyone was desperate to become friends with an Epic employee. This is because you could join a random lobby and find someone with Epic in their name. It was an official tag and you weren't allowed to put in your own user, so you knew this wasn't an imposter. It was a way to tell you were in a lobby with an actual developer, and some players were lucky enough to get on their team and play a match with them. Sadly, it would not last long, as a couple years later, Epic decided they wanted to go undercover instead. It's not the only thing we're missing out on. OG players might recall the Battle Pass Promise. This was an insanely helpful loyalty scheme that kept us coming back. When you purchased the Battle Pass, it would automatically give you 5 free tiers for next season. No one knows why they stopped doing this, and most of us just forgot about it. Probably what Epic wanted us to do. When we revisit the Spy season, this is super easy to remember, from the Battle Pass to the POIs, except one feature has completely escaped our minds: the ability to redesign locations. Depending on how many people chose Ghost or Shadow in the Battle Pass menu, it would influence the look of POIs. For example, when Shadow won the Grotto, its cave was terraformed into a skull. Some players assumed it was always like this. When you entered, Brutus would be wearing a Shadow outfit, and all the henchmen also changed sides. It was honestly an insane detail. If you were around back in Chapter 1, you remember Ride the Pony. It was basically the first emote of Fortnite, originating from Save the World. And so when the Season 2 Battle Pass dropped, they threw this in as a dance. Except many seasons later, they changed their mind, giving Ride the Pony to everyone who owned Save the World. This created a problem, as it was meant to be exclusive to the Battle Pass, so to compensate owners, they threw in a new version of Pony Up. Nowadays, if you have daily quests and they suck, you just ignore them. Except back in Chapter 1, you could store the good ones and allow bad challenges to be replaced instead. Then, when you dropped onto the map to complete these quests, you could have landed at a forgotten POI. Behind Wailing Woods, there was a single house made of wooden builds. Anyone could edit these, letting you have insane battles without any materials. But we gotta point out the OG anime collab. Back in Season 8, one of the Battle Pass skins was Master Key, and most players know him by this design. This is a mass version, and if you went with his base style, he looked a little familiar, with fans calling him the first version of Naruto before they got the rights to it. Kinda like how they parodied Wonder Woman and John Wick in the past. Speaking of the Reaper, everyone knows about him, but no one seems to remember how terrifying he was. This was the tier 100 skin, and back then earning it meant you were a total sweat. It was a huge meme that he was the sweaty outfit of Chapter 1, and when combined with Love Ranger's wings, you knew you were coming up against a massive tryhard. There's a Forgotten POI, which became one of the most overpowered locations on the map. This was really well known at the time, but newer players might never have seen it. I'm of course talking about the Pontoon. It was a small boat that appeared offshore and would change location every match. The loot was insane, letting you grab a 7 chest, IO chest, supply drop, slurp barrels, and then 2 regular chests on top of all of that. Why wouldn't you drop here? Anyway, it was removed 1 season later, but fans loved this so much it came back in Chapter 3. A feature that'll probably never return is the Awakening challenges. These were exclusive quests that appeared in the original Marvel season. They were tailored to each character in the battle pass, so you'd have an entire quest line for Groot, Storm, Thor, and when you completed them, it would unlock their built-in emote, which was usually a transformation item. So you get someone like Tony Stark, and then have to do cool challenges like reaching 88 miles per hour, or using an upgrade bench to then become Iron Man. I don't know why they stopped doing this and made challenges feel really fun. Although I am glad they made a huge change to edit styles. By now, we're all used to opening the menu and browsing different types of variants, except in the past, there was nothing like that. You just had to hit the style button and cycle through all of them to get what you wanted. It was super tedious, although I wish we still had special item shop events, like when Deadpool used it to break the 4th wall. Even if you were around in Season X, you probably still don't know about Junk Junction's secret. Obviously, most of us remember this POI, but during the season it got a hidden update. One of the destroyed buildings was actually the Tilted Clock Tower. Fast forward to the Spy season, and there's a base everyone forgot about. This building belonged to Ghost, and it was full of porta potties on the outside. It seemed weird, but if you jumped into the furthest one, it would drop you into a trap. It forced you to battle your way through henchmen and turrets in order to grab some fun loot as your reward. You have to be a generous player to remember this classic feature. Back in Chapter 1, you could gift items to your friends, and it was customizable. Let you pick your own gift box design along with a custom message. We could send whatever we wanted, which was easily abused, causing Epic to remove it in Chapter 2. Now all messages are the same, but you could get unlimited rewards from the dial-a-drop. This was a forgotten item that could summon loot like supply drops and cars. Sadly, a duplication glitch let you do it over and over again, forcing Epic to vault it as fast as possible. It has never returned. But over in Chapter 2, the nanites were fun to throw down and create an anti-gravity field, but they did have a secret ability. By opening the crafting menu, you can merge a nanite with a regular weapon and turning it into an alien gun. Yeah, you can turn an SMG into a ray gun, or if you had a sniper, you would get yourself a railgun. Chapter 2 had an insane amount of forgotten content. The Spy Games LTM might ring a bell, but a ton of people don't realize it had exclusive perks. After choosing loadouts, you would get a different piece of tech, whether it was the ability to double jump or running faster with your pickaxe out. One of them even forced you to dance after getting a kill. Now, only hardcore veterans will remember the OG Christmas supply drops. These are over 6 years old and were basically just reskinned into a present. Except Fortnite messed up letting us hide inside of them, with creators like Musoke and Lachlan getting wins from this.
Hey, bro!
Now, you definitely won't remember the bunker chests. These randomly appeared in the middle of the Primal season, and it had Week 7 written on top. Nobody knew what this meant or why they were here, but for some reason, they gave insane loot, guaranteeing you an epic or a legendary item. One of the strangest items could only be found if you were abducted. This was the alien knock gun, and was supposed to be exclusive to the mothership until a glitch let you respawn with it, using this to troll players. Now, it had 0 damage, but let's be honest, blasting people off their builds is dangerous enough.
He might try to box me, honestly. I almost knocked him out. I think
I'm on my way.
I made him. No, where is he?
Got him!
Speaking of knockback, the Shockwave LTM went totally under the radar. They basically made Smash Bros in Fortnite. Instead of a health bar, you would have a percentage, and every time you were hit, it would go up. The higher percentage you have, the further you'd fly into the storm. It was this insanely cool mode that no one ever talks about anymore. But I do remember the most useless chest in Fortnite history. These cosmic chests were trapped inside a crystal and looked cool at first until you realized you needed to take turns hitting them. Your entire squad had to be here, making them more of an inconvenience than anything, and it wasn't even worth the loot. Now, if you've been playing from the very beginning, you'll probably recall that heals were very different. Sure, now they've been redesigned, but back then they were gray. Yeah, there was a point where medkits and shield pots had the same rarity as bandages. An actual rare item was hiding inside a cabin at Weeping Woods. We had no idea why, but you could destroy a painting and it would give you a gold coin. There was no use for this at all, it was a total accident, and yet anyone who found this could brag about it forever. One of the most underrated secrets was an exclusive Star Wars item that could only be found in an LTM. During Mando's Bounty, this was Fortnite's updated version of the John Wick mode from Chapter 1, except this time around, they released an item called the Bounty Puck, which displayed your targets and how much they were worth. You can even find these hollow pucks all the way from common to legendary, and I totally forgot about this. Now, throughout the years, we've had a lot of portable items, from the Porta Fort to the Porta Bunker, but no one talks about a forgotten version, the Porta Challenge. This could only be used in the playground mode. You would find a ton of vending machines offering different versions, and once you threw them down, they'd spawn in a mini game. Whether it was an obstacle course, a firing range, or a building challenge, this was a fun way to mess around before creative mode ever existed. I also wish I knew about the boogie boat. During the flood season, everything was underwater, so naturally the coolest POI was floating on the surface. You'd find a nightclub in the middle, letting you bust moves on the dance floor, along with sunbeds and plenty of loot. While this was a fun spot to chill out and mess around with friends, most people don't know about it because this vanished after 10 days. And I can't believe how Fortnite used to punish us for jumping off roofs. Even the smallest distance would give you fall damage back in the day. Literally walking down a tiny cliff would hurt. It was ridiculous. I'm not surprised Epic quickly changed this, but it also means most people forgot about it. We will always remember Risky Reels, a POI that seems to constantly come back. I mean, yeah, it gets destroyed a ton, and one time it was flattened by the block, fully wiping it out. Most players know this story, but what they don't know is that Risky wasn't fully gone. Hiding in the jungle, fans could visit a tiny POI that was a makeshift tribute, kind of like a home cinema. Some facts about OG Fortnite make you question reality though. Turns out the storm never existed on the minimap in the early days. You're probably thinking back like, no, it definitely did, but this must be some kind of Mandela effect. It was actually just a blue circle, so no wonder it crept up on us so easily. Odds are you will know about the most annoying feature in Chapter 1. You'd hear a chest in the distance, break walls to find it, only to realize you can't hear it anymore. Turns out we would break the floor under the chest, deleting it from the map. It was insanely annoying, causing players to beg Epic for a fix, and nowadays it pops open the chest. We definitely take this for granted knowing what it used to be like. You also probably know about Tuna Fish. He was a popular outfit during Chapter 2 and let you customize fish stick with all kinds of designs. The reason I'm bringing him up is because of a lesser known feature, Rainbow Ink. Looking back, most of us just assumed we did challenges to get more styles, but we actually needed to find physical ink. You had to open as many chests as possible, and as you collected this ink, you could spend it on the styles you wanted, but only if you completed a challenge or collected a color bottle. These are so complicated, it was easy to forget them. Although I wish we still had this feature from Chapter 1. Back in the day, when you landed with momentum, you could spam the jump button and keep bouncing. Let your bunny hop around the map as long as you wanted. It was probably the most fun way to get around we have ever had, but sadly, they nerfed this in a hidden update. Another way to cheese the game was hiding inside a rare LTM. In 2018, you could play Love Shot to celebrate Valentine's Day, giving you low gravity, boogie bombs, and a new item, Cupid's crossbow. This was an exclusive redesign of the crossbow, but the rules of this LTM meant that skybasing guaranteed a win. As Valentine's Day passed, this LTM was removed and never came back. Cupid's crossbow has made appearances over the years, but no one remembers that it belonged to this long-lost mode. And we probably learned about it from the old news feed. In modern-day Fortnite, you can expect to see a full-screen message of the day that is impossible to ignore. For more details, we have to search up the patch notes online, and even then, they don't mention everything. But back in Chapter 1, this small menu gave us all the info we needed. If only it told us about the secret Halloween pretzel. For a couple of Fortnitemares events, we could find candy around the map, but most people remember this eating hop drops, jelly beans, you name it. One that was harder to find was the 0-point pretzel. This would let you dash around the map, teleporting with the power of candy, but it hasn't returned since 2021. Once again, most of us know about the old Ghost and Shadow henchmen. You can shake them down for info, or use a phone booth to disguise as them. What players don't remember are the exclusive chests with great loot. By carrying a henchman over your shoulder, you would unlock these by holding the poor guy right up to the the scanner. Let's take it back to Chapter 2, where they designed a melee weapon with entire stats, a full moveset, and inventory slot. There's only one catch though, it was unobtainable. This is the Predator Claw, a legendary item that no one knew about because, well, the Predator was the only one who could use it. He never dropped the item, it wasn't in the loot pool, and they straight up designed this just for an NPC. Which reminds me of another exclusive that could only be found during a concert. The Kid Leroy's music experience wasn't a full live event, they designed this in creative mode so no one remembers the custom weapon we used. Near the end of the concert, we had to fight off a huge wolf, and our tool for this battle, a sunburst gauntlet. Speaking of unique items, during Chapter 3, there was a special consumable that only existed for the summer event. They decided to cool us all down with some ice cream, and there was a lot to choose from, whether it was frozen, spicy, guzzling, or my personal favorite Lil Whip Special Serve. You can find these from coolers and get unique abilities. Lil Whips is sold from the man himself, and it was literally an instant chug jug. They totally should have kept this in the game. From limited time items to limited time modes, there are a few over the years that no one remembers because they were pickaxe themed. As you could probably guess from the name, Pickaxe Frenzy was a regular game of Battle Royale, but with no guns. You could only hit each other with harvesting tools and rusty cans. Sure, you could get around with mobility items, but it was super unique and players loved it. The same goes for the Tag LTM. I mean, odds are you played tag in real life, so you get the rules. This time it was playable in Fortnite, letting you tag players with pickaxes, escape enemies with impulses, and mess around with friends for only a couple days. I mean, that sucks. Forgotten modes are one thing, but it's easy to lose track of all the exotics in Fortnite. I mean, we've had a lot of them over the years, and chances are you don't remember the Nighthawk. This only appeared for a couple of seasons, and at first glance, it's really similar to the scope revolver, except this has a clean matte black design in a thermal scope. It wasn't forgettable just because no one used it, it was also really hard to find, only available to buy from the Mancake NPC. There was also the Big Chill, an item that looks like a snowball launcher but fired chiller grenades instead. So yeah, you could deal knockback and cause icy feet, which sounds cool, yet it was so much worse than a regular snowball launcher. This was an exotic weapon that dealt 0 damage, with barely anyone spending their gold on this. I wonder why. Instead, they would use items like the Storm Scout sniper rifle, probably one of the most underrated snipers we have ever had. While aiming down the sights, it would reveal the next storm circle. There was even an exotic version of this in Chapter 2, and yet only YouTubers talk about it. Just like how they forgot about the Burst Pulse Rifle. Yeah, on the surface, you're like, I remember this, they were everywhere in the Alien season, but that was the normal Pulse Rifle. This version was an exotic that could only be found from the Chimera NPC or a malfunctioning vending machine. It was vaulted after just 1 week, and with it being hidden behind an NPC's paywall, no one even realized. Honestly, it's even harder to notice that fish are gone. There have been tons of consumables in the water that players don't remember. Most of them look weird, like the stink flopper that was based on the ugliest creature in the ocean, the blobfish. We also had hop floppers that gave us an anti-gravity effect, and shadow ones turning us into a ghost. A lot of people preferred the 0-point fish, letting us blink around, or even the riff version that gave an instant rotation. Epic's really gotta bring some of these back. Catching anything from the water right now, it's just boring. We already talked about alien nanites, but an earlier version of these were nuts and bolts. After the primal season, you could open up toolboxes and get a lot of them. These were the new way to craft things, but in reality, all they would do is side grade your weapon. It let you swap out attack into a lever, or your heavy AR to a burst, which basically felt like a downgrade. No one ever used this feature as a result, and it was doomed to obscurity. The Hunter's Cloak, an item that tried to be unique but ended up being useless. With meat and bones, you could craft this and it would make all wildlife ignore you. Two major problems though. Firstly, you could just ignore them and basically get the same effect, and secondly, it took up an inventory slot, the ultimate downfall of this item. Now, some features just don't belong in Battle Royale, like the Propifier. This was one of those items from Invasion that went super under the radar. Players were more distracted by railguns, inflatables, recon scanners. The prop gun wasn't added until the final weeks of the season, and even then, it only let you choose from a small range of items to disguise as. This group of props, well, let's just say it was the most obvious ways to hide, and every so often your character would glitch, showing everyone else where you were. And at least we got to use it though, unlike the annual pass. This was a prototype subscription service that would have given us every battle pass in a year, along with exclusive outfits, Astra Bash, and an unreleased character, Brilliant Bomber. When this was leaked, players went crazy for it, even hacking into their accounts. To this day, only a handful of people have seen this outfit, and she has been forgotten for years, except recently when a Lego style was spotted in the files. Maybe she'll finally release soon. Probably not. But we are happy to know the old inventory is gone. If you played Fortnite in its true infancy, you'll know about those clunky menus and how hard it was to look at your items. But no one talks about the biggest issue, the old weapon stats screen. When you looked at a gun, it would dump every piece of info at you, even things that weren't in the game like durability. Now look, Epic, you don't have to tell us that a great pistol has 0% critical hit. We know. A change that totally went over our heads includes the thermal scoped AR. You know how the gun looks like this? Well, if I showed you what it looked like in Chapter 1, it's really subtle. Most people never realized it was changed until you put them side by side. You can totally see it now. In fact, the scoped AR was one of the many items we could summon at the end of Chapter 2, all thanks to JB Chimpanski's funding stations. You might remember these, as we used them to unlock new weapons every week. But there were hidden features that everyone forgot about. It let us spawn in mounted turrets, shockwave launchers, even a remake of the Brutes. For a real explosion, we could enjoy the propane tanks in the spy season. Because gas cans were all over the map, no one ever picked these up or noticed them, but they were a good alternative. You could throw them around, destroy builds, or even start fires. So when I was looking back at the many years of Fortnite, I saw footage of crows from Chapter 2, and it kind of blew my mind. I had totally forgot these were a thing. You can see them from miles away. These birds would usually glow a rare color and drop that loot if you eliminated them. There was even the almighty legendary crow. If you play a lot of creative, you'll know they have exclusive swords and melee items that are actually customizable. But back in Chapter 2, these were still in the works, and Fortnite accidentally released an early version of this sword into the files. Thanks to glitches involving vending machines, people could get the creative sword, and it worked exactly like an infinity blade for some reason. It was also huge and bulky, but with how rare this was and the fact it was exclusive to creative, only hardcore players will know about it. And even less people get to own Indigo Kuno. This was an exclusive version of the Kuno outfit that could only be unlocked in a PlayStation Cup. You had to earn this on a PS4, PS5, and only 6,000 players were given the skin. Barely anyone knew about it for a while, but anyone who gets told about the Indigo Kuno immediately wants it for how rare this is. For only 200 V-Bucks, you could go up to a friend and actually play the game. Nowadays, we have synced emotes for this purpose, but back in the day, this didn't exist, so you had to both own it and time it perfectly. Another unique cosmetic was the golf ball, and if you went to Lazy Links, you could really play and get a hole-in-one. One of the most frustrating things was how you couldn't build in a huge POI. Blue Lake was near the center of the map, so you always came to this and were blocked from building. You had to place a floor before the water and then build a bridge to get across, so another player could easily snipe you out and you'd be a sitting duck. Something you probably don't remember is the power-up LTM. It was only available during 14 days of summer and removed the shield cap, so you could sit around for a whole game building thousands of shield. But even in normal BR, these pots used to be different. During Chapter 1, we could run around with up to 5 big shields, and minis had a limit of 10. Now everyone knows about the meteor event in Season 4. While you might think it was just a comet in the sky and a cutscene in the trailer, there was more to this than you'll remember. For the last week, real meteors would fall down from the sky and crash into players. And I always get a ton of nostalgia when I see what the storm used to look like. You don't realize how different it is now until you look at the old hexagon design, and man, I miss this a lot. Another forgotten LTM is Storm Chasers Surfin'. At the start of the game, everyone got surfboards and could drive around with impulse grenades, trying to throw other players in the storm, and why don't they make fun modes like this anymore? We all remember the default skins, they were our first outfits, and there was just something about them that gives you a wave of nostalgia. Maybe it's these health monitors on the wrist. Most people didn't pay attention to these, but they would show a heartbeat detector and every default had one. Something else you won't see anymore are animated loading screens. Yeah, these exist, and there are only 2 in existence. Back in Chapter 1, Lynx and Hybrid got unique loading screens that were fully animated, and you could only get them in a battle pass. So if you have these in your locker, don't overlook their rarity. I also love Retail Row's forgotten Easter egg. For a short time, there was a huge big mouth Billy Bass on a wall, and if you emoted while looking at it, you would start to dance. A total disaster is when they added account merging. With the release of crossplay, Epic allowed you to merge your Xbox or Switch account with the PS4 one, which would allow you to transfer V-Bucks and cosmetic items into one login. Great idea on paper, but it caused so many people to abuse it and get banned. Everyone's heard about the Galaxy and Iconic skins, which were exclusive to Samsung phones, but nobody paid attention to an obscure collab, the Honor Guard. If you own the View 20, you could log into Fortnite and earn this guy for free, and if you had an Honor 20, you get Wonder. One of the strangest features Epic has ever added totally backfired on them. For a couple days, if you got a friend request, a random woman would tell you in-game. If you're a big streamer, this was a nightmare.
Aw, you've got a friend request incoming. Someone wants to be friends.
Why would they add something stupid like that? Why?
Yeah, by the way, you couldn't turn it off.
Yes, Epic, this was a great idea. Thank you so much.
Another huge mistake was when they had no cap on ammo. This included rockets, so you could walk into a match, collect a whole inventory of RPGs, and just destroy people with hundreds of rockets. Something we take for granted nowadays is the ability to swim. This never existed back in the day, so if you fell off the map, you're going straight back to the lobby. It also made getting chests like this one 10 times riskier. One of the coolest items Fortnite has ever added was only available in the Bodyguard LTM. This is the Revive Grenade, and it does exactly what you'd expect, throwing this at any teammate to instantly pick them up from a distance. You probably didn't notice that they got rid of an incredible feature though. In Chapter 1, when you viewed the map, it showed these lines and grid coordinates for each section. You could use this to tell your teammates exactly where to drop. Nowadays, you have to use a compass or say it's north of a POI, which makes things way more confusing. I actually want this feature back. In fact, you can't even use a compass anymore. They also had an icon for north, east, southwest around the minimap, but I understand why they got rid of this one because it was kinda pointless. Did you know that we never used to have back blings? In the super early days, you couldn't take them off your skin. They were fused with it like a blue squire. There was another hilarious feature during Season X which caused hundreds of pro players to rage quit. One of the rift zones at Greasy Grove was called Taco Time, and it would make everyone dance.
Alright, boys.
A few moments later.
Everybody loves the feeling of sending gifts to a friend. It makes it feel good. But this experience used to be even more personal in Chapter 2, as you could attach a written message with your gift. I don't know why they removed this, but I do know why Epic got rid of transparent edits. Back in the day, when you edited your build, it would be completely see-through on removed areas. So you could hide in a box and just use an edit to peek through a makeshift window. This was insanely overpowered. Kind of like the guided missile launcher, a classic weapon that basically handed you free kills. This was so easy to use. You fired a rocket in the air and controlled it until you landed on an enemy. If this came back in 2023, people would probably crank 90s and block it, but back then, it was so easy to wipe players out. It was also extremely easy to use the vending machines. Right now, you gotta fork out gold to afford anything, and they're usually not worth it. But in Chapter 1, these would cycle through weapons and allow you to buy them with materials. Everyone saw an item they wanted and immediately went grinding for the right amount of wood or stone to get it. It was awesome. So was the hidden Easter egg near Lazy Lake. In the ground, you could find a small mine with a chest inside, but only after you looked at this POI from a top-down view you would realize it was a fork knife. Now, one of the first pay-to-win skins ever released were the Green Army Men. It was meant to be a throwback to toy soldiers, except Epic never accounted for the green color. Now people are buying this and hiding in areas where they would be camouflaged. With updates, Fortnite had to change it and completely nerf the strategy. Now, you've definitely heard of Salty Springs, but at the start of Chapter 1, we never knew its name. This place wasn't called anything for a couple of months, despite being a huge POI. It's like they forgot to come up with the name. Once everyone started landing here and rage quitting, they decided to call it Salty Springs. Another classic POI was Greasy Grove, but halfway through the chapter, they removed this place and we all wanted it back. That's until players found it frozen underneath the ice at Polar Peak. You couldn't really explore it, but there was an even crazier mystery. A 100% guaranteed chest, completely impossible to reach. Everyone was trying to break through the ice to no avail, until one day a method came out that let you grab the loot by breaking the floor onto a ramp. During Season X, something strange happened. All of a sudden, glitched items were appearing around the map. They looked like crystals from afar, but once you got close enough, they would turn into a random consumable like vegetables or fruits. Nobody really talked about these, and we kind of forgot about them over the years. That's still not as random as the giant toy duck in Season 9. Yeah, under the slipstreams in the river, this guy was just chilling. It was a part of the summer update, but I would love to see him on the map permanently. Now imagine what the game would be today without turbo building. Well, we have a glimpse because it wasn't always in Fortnite. Before patch 3.0, there was no turbo building. You had to click for every single piece. So if you feel nostalgic about how easy things used to be, it's probably because you didn't have pro players cranking 90s in a second. A strat we all used to love was the combination of the shopping carts and a minigun. If you needed to get somewhere but didn't want to drag it around, you could just sit on top and fire at the ground, sending you flying in the opposite direction. While exploring, you might have come across a piano in the middle of nowhere. You could actually jump on these and play the right notes, but this is also part of a challenge. People were landing here trying to get their XP, only for other players to jump on the notes and completely ruin the challenge for them. The griefing was off the charts. You definitely were not an OG if you don't remember the old traps. Sure, we had the classics like the spike trap, but others were extremely short-lived, like the directional jump pad, a classic trick-shotting item that people would love to see back. Not to mention traps from Save the World that were brought into BR, like the Ceiling Zapper and the Wall Dynamo. Now look, I've been playing since literally day one, but even I forgot about the original inventory design. Feels like it's been the same ever since Fortnite release, but that's not exactly true. For the first couple of weeks, the game looked like this. The inventory was so rushed, they just made the grenade icon a white PNG. One of the rarest skins of all time will never release again, thanks to the Twitch Prime pack from 2018. If you link your Twitch Prime to Epic, you can earn the Havoc outfit and Sub Commander for free. They're only available for a couple of weeks and vanish forever. To this day, they are some of the most sought after outfits of all time. And don't forget about turbo farming. This was a very niche trick at Chapter 1 that let you farm materials super fast, whether you were spam crouching or jumping with an emoticon, and allowed you to hit the weak points at double the speed. Creators like Tfue, they knew what they were doing. Something you didn't realize was missing is the infamous cartoon trail. You used to have smoke following you while running around, and I forgot about this, but it totally contributed to the nostalgia of Chapter 1. And so did WRLD. That was the community's name for this western town in the desert, but one building was more unique than the rest. For some reason, chairs started to pile up in this place until eventually there was no room left. And of course, there's even a fort fight here to introduce the house to players. Now that was an unknown POI, but a more popular drop spot was the prison. A lot of you definitely remember this. It was an unnamed location, yet everyone loved to land here, including me. It was huge with a ton of rooms and chests, but as Chapter 1 went on, it eventually got destroyed and left in ruin. Over in Chapter 2, you might have forgotten about the Marvel season's most underrated feature. Around the map, Galactus Gorges were attacking people, but you could fight them, and this is where things got interesting. After being disabled, these Gorges could be picked up and used in battle as a weapon. And you are definitely a veteran player if you remember Starry Suburbs. I'm not talking about the version from Season X, where we had loot stars and an insane gold tack SMG. Starry's actually much older than that. It first appeared in Season 2 as an unnamed location, and no one ever really talks about the original, but it was a great place to land. And honestly, I gotta bring up Fortnite's craziest throwable. Back then, all we had were items like the Porta-Fort. I mean, yeah, these were cool, but it only threw down a tower. Pretty simple. That's until Playground Mode came along, handing us the Spiky Stadium. It spawned a massive arena that was literally the size of a POI, and I have no idea how we didn't crash the servers all the time. Unlike the item that totally broke Fortnite. Smoke grenades were only in for a couple of weeks, and the damage they left is unforgettable. As you'd expect, they made a huge cloud of smoke, which is a cool idea, but it lagged the game so bad. Epic had to remove this due to the backlash, although I hope we get it back in Zero Build one day. One of the earliest rifts in Fortnite was hidden in a basement underneath Wailing Woods. Not many people landed here, and when they did, they were in for a massive surprise. It led to an entire underground complex full of scientific equipment, but more importantly, rifts to other locations. And I don't know if it's just me, but I seriously didn't notice a change to balloons. You would have thought they stayed the same after all these years, until you look back at old footage and realize they're holding it above their head. This blocked you from using guns. It's super different from the version we have now. One of the cutest POIs we have ever had were these builds spread throughout the island. You'd land here and be able to edit them and customize it, but look from afar and these aren't random builds. They're all in the shape of an animal, whether it's a fox or a llama. They didn't serve much purpose except for looking adorable. Something that worked a little too well is the Boogie Bomb. This quickly rose to fame as the most annoying Fortnite item of all time because of one reason. Once thrown down, this would affect an enemy for 10 seconds even if you were shooting them. Nowadays, it cancels the animation once they get damaged, but back then, it was unstoppable. Almost as annoying as grenades and rockets. For just a few days, Epic changed explosives to penetrate structures. This meant you could fire a rocket next to a build, and it would explode outside the box but still damage enemies. It was such a controversial change that they even had to ask players on Reddit if they should remove it or not. The answer, overwhelmingly, yes. There is a feature I can't explain though, and it's the secret name of Coral Castle. Yeah, I know everyone hates this place, but when it first got added, it wasn't even called that. For some reason, people loaded in, looked at the map, and were introduced to Carl. Around the same time, we had Coral Buddies on the island. They were adorable, a part of a special challenge that let you use materials to evolve their society. This upgraded them all the way from the Stone Age to a modern-day city. Eventually, they developed a nuclear weapons program to try and defend themselves from outsiders, only for it to literally blow up in their face. From Coral Buddies messing up to Epic's huge mistake, Shadow Stones were a big problem in Season 6. You could use a glitch to turn completely invisible, ruining lobbies for everyone. A fun fact that even OG players don't know about is the original name for V-Bucks. Ever since day one, they've been called this, but during development, they were actually going to call them Battle Bucks. Speaking of old discoveries, one of the first gliders in Fortnite was hidden in the season shop. You had to get to level 25 just to have the chance to buy this thing. It was supposed to be exclusive to the shop, only for Epic to accidentally bring it back, causing a huge controversy. If you had trouble getting to level 25 back in the day, these would have helped you out. Everyone knows about the battle pass tiers hidden in loading screens, but a lot of people forget about XP coins. They were spread around the map, but you could be minding your own business before coming across a giant XP coin. Honestly, the feeling was amazing. They're almost as old as the OG submachine gun. This is such a classic weapon, and it sadly never returned, probably because it was terrible. But that still lasted longer than Fortnite's rarest item. The Eye of the Storm Tracker is a backpack that was only in game for 30 minutes. They accidentally added this, causing a few players to get their hands on it. They'll let you view the next storm phases with no effort, and Epic straight up panicked, removing this immediately. Now you might think that Avengers was the first ever collab, and well, that's kinda true. There was still an insane crossover in the same month BR released. Epic invited a ton of content creators to be added to the game, with exclusive banner icons for their logos, like Vanoss Gaming, Muselk, and even PewDiePie. You could wear these banners in Battle Royale, making them the rarest and the first collab. An experience you didn't want to try is the swing set of death. In Greasy Grove, this swing was the only object with physics enabled. No other item could be pushed around like this, and for some reason, this freaked out the anti-cheat. Epic just assumed you were teleporting around, kicking, or even banning players for quote-unquote hacking.
Wait. What? I got banned. I just got banned.
Thankfully, they came back, unlike the forgotten currency of Fortnite. Long before gold existed, they collaborated with Borderlands, adding cash. You couldn't spend it like you can with gold, but it was still pretty cool for its time. Things get disturbing though when you head over to Sunny Steps, as this POI held a dark secret. You could find a llama being cooked and eaten alive, with its skeletal remains above a campfire. And back in 2018, we got the very first April Fools in Fortnite. They don't do this anymore, but to celebrate the occasion, Epic decided to prank players in the best way. Without telling anyone, they changed impulse grenades to have 10 times more power, causing people to launch themselves straight to their deaths. Things got even worse, with boogie bombs receiving super jumps, so all the tryhards trying to get an easy kill were trolled. It wasn't the only time Epic pranked players. Over at Dusty Divot and Greasy Grove, we found ice cream trucks that had 100,000 health. Kinda felt like a glitch, but one of them was making chest noises, so we spent forever trying to break it. Once the van was finally gone, you either got a chest or nothing at all. Now you'll know about the OG tac shotgun, but you might not remember its hidden secret. This gun had a screen on the side that you couldn't view while in third person. It wasn't until people saw the concept art or went into replay mode that they realized it had a game of Snake on the side. Maybe it's just me, but I felt like we were all obsessed with Fortnite China back in the day because of just how different it was. Thanks to the strict gaming laws, it had no microtransactions, challenges to earn V-Bucks, and exclusive skins. Everyone went crazy over this, with updates always adding something unique, like the removal of Skull Trooper and Mystique's backbling turning into a ball. Now, sadly, it was shut down in 2021, but a feature that had to be removed was OG live events. One of the coolest parts about these were how they took place in real matches. You could genuinely be playing a regular game of BR only for a rocket to take off or a cube to spawn. Nowadays, we have dedicated playlists with immunity, but back then, it caused a disaster, with a world record for solo eliminations being broken by a griefer. As for the most forgotten collab in history, we have the Kingsman umbrella. It got added with basically no announcement. They didn't make a trailer or anything, people just logged in and found a crossover item. It could be used for gliding, attacking, and blocking, which made it super unique, but it was mysteriously never seen again. Epic also quietly shut down a tournament. Friday Fortnite was a huge fan-created competition that kickstarted the careers of people like Tfue and Mongrel. At one point, the tournament was pulling more viewers than The Walking Dead, and existed long before official competitions like FNCS. Like I said, sadly, Epic shut it down. Thankfully though, they kept a glitch in the game that is still around to this day. Rocket riding was actually never intended. This was discovered by total accident, yet players loved it. The response was so positive that Epic was basically forced to keep it in. Ever since, you could practically rocket ride anything, from battle bus rockets to the Cybertron cannon. And that's not even the weirdest item. There was once a random mythic that no one remembers. In the Impossible Escape LTM, you could find the Raptor Claw. Sounds like a weapon, right? No, it was a useless quest item that you had to deliver to an NPC. Because of how meaningless this is, most players never even knew it existed. Just like they don't know about of Fortnite on a disc. As a free game, you wouldn't expect this to be on store shelves, but for the first couple of weeks, it was. There are people out there who seriously own Fortnite for Xbox One, and it sells on eBay now for thousands of dollars. Over in Season 8, you'll remember the Unvaulting event, but there was a whole build-up that brought the community together. Puzzles appeared around the map asking us to emote or pickaxe runes with millions of health to move it. Eventually, this all led up to the unlocking of the vault. One of my personal favorite OG items is also a reference to Metal Gear Solid. Creepy Cardboard was randomly added in 2020, allowing us to hide inside a box and throw down for extra camouflage. Not only was this a nod to Solid Snake's iconic tactic, but it was a decent strategy, and they even brought it back in Chapter 5 with the official collab. For anyone still in the mood to prank players, you were actually able to harass your own teammates. For a massive chunk of the first season, team killing was enabled and it was chaotic. People would wipe out their own squad either as a joke or, let's be honest, it was to steal their loot. That's because arguing over a rare item was way more deadly back then. Dying to that sucks, but it would be even worse with the Star Wand pickaxe. In Chapter 4, this is simply known as an item that sweats use, but it had a more sinister purpose in 2019 when people realized how destructive it was. The Star Wand, for no reason, was able to deal 56 damage. You could knock someone in only a few hits, or if you got lucky enough to headshot them, it could take players out in seconds. A feature that was completely forgotten was punch cards. These were really helpful in Chapter 2, helping us get a ton of XP simply for playing the game. Now they've been replaced with milestones, which are arguably super boring in comparison. But we did get a ton of excitement from Chapter 2's traps. A lot of these went under the radar, like the fire trap, which could burn down a build in seconds, or the poison dart that would literally shoot marshmallows on enemies. Still not as annoying as stretched res. Pro players found a way to edit their file settings and glitch the game to give them an advantage. Made every stream look warped, but they claimed people were easier to hit with a higher FOV. Whether that was true, we don't exactly know, but Epic was concerned enough to ban it anyway. Let's take it back to the first ever secret area in Fortnite. Near Tomato Town, there was a tunnel that cut through a cliff. It was totally normal looking, but if you broke the wall, it revealed a hidden area with chests and ammo boxes. Since this day, we have been keeping an eye out for more secret rooms. Speaking of records, the Icon series didn't actually begin with Ninja. It all started in the Season 3 Battle Pass. There was an emoticon that simply looks like a math equation until CDN the Third came across it.
No, they didn't.
Oh, no way.
No, they didn't.
Open bracket, plus sign, close bracket. Let's go.
Wait, look what it says.
Positivity, have a phenomenal gaming experience. Let's go.
One of the craziest facts is how the suppressed pistol and boogie bomb are older than Tilted Towers. Yeah, this wasn't always around, despite it feeling like it lasted all of Chapter 1. Tilted was added in Season 2, and before then, the area was just a huge open plot of land. Was it the only thing missing back in the day? If you ran out of materials, it wouldn't automatically switch to the next one. So, you could be building, only to die to fall damage out of nowhere. Some Chapter 2 players will definitely miss side grading though. This is a pretty forgotten feature that only lasted a couple of seasons, but instead of improving your weapon's rarity, you can swap your items out for a completely different one. People love this, and maybe it'll come back in the future just like OG Factories, the most famous classic drop spot of Fortnite. If you played in 2018, you know about this place. It was an unnamed POI, yet tons of people landed here, especially before Tilted. It was so popular, Epic even brought it back in Season X. Now you might have heard me mention this throughout the video, but we gotta talk about the Season Shop. This was the first version of the item shop with a catch. You had to level up just to unlock the cosmetics, and then you could pay for it with V-Bucks. Total mess, and every outfit was exclusive to the season it dropped in, so basically this was an early version of the Battle Pass, and thankfully they changed it. Still not as chaotic as the Risky Reels chest challenge. For some reason, no one at Epic thought it was a bad idea to lock the first secret skin behind a ridiculous quest. You had to open 7 chests that risky, causing the whole lobby to land here and try to complete it. Borderline impossible, and Epic even referenced it years later in this legacy achievement. So at this point, you're probably an OG, that means you'll definitely remember Orange Justice. Let's be honest, most Chapter 1 players know about this. It was the dance of the year, and the story was incredible. The Orange Shirt Kid entered the Boogie Down contest, was thought to be the clear winner, only to be ignored by Epic. The outrage from the community was so big, they added it to the Battle Pass with the name Justice. Maybe you might have known that, but there's some players who have never heard of the Golden Mushroom. It was one of the rarest items in Chapter 2 with a 1 in 10,000 chance of spawning. So if you were lucky enough to find it, you would earn 100 shield in a second. Controversial, but also not. I just wish 100% chest spawns were still in the game. This was one of the best features in Chapter 2, allowing us to land at the same place every game and find chests in a guaranteed spot. POIs are more interesting and fun to land at, and nowadays you can land at your favorite place and have literally no loot. But back then, 100% chest spawn allowed us to create our own personal personalized drop spot that didn't rely on stupid RNG. Don't worry, I know I could not make a video on things OGs remember without bringing up a double pump. It's a strat that dominated Fortnite's meta for months, and some people claim that its removal ruined everything. We'd love to see this back for a week, maybe even in a custom mode, because it was honestly fun. Being able to pump, then switch and fire again immediately, so satisfying. Then we have the most famous weapon of Chapter 1, which is only in the game for a couple of days. There's only a handful of real clips out there with the Zapatron, that's how rare it is. If you were lucky enough to genuinely use this, you deserve a medal. Since they removed it, Fortnite has teased its return countless times, only to never bring it back, so maybe next season will fix that. By now, we're all familiar with the Chug Cannon and Bandage Bazooka, but would you believe me if I told you there's a secret third version? In the Bodyguard LTM, you can find a mythic that only uses one inventory slot, but after just a few hours, it was deleted because of how broken it was. Another weapon everyone forgot about existed for less than a few weeks. In Season 2, Spy Games had a bunch of tech, just like perks we have today, but with insane luck, you would unlock the suppressor and trusty dual wield at the same time. This revealed one of the rarest weapons in the game, dual suppressed pistols. Well, that's not the only unique feature Epic removed, because in Season 9, you could eliminate people with water balloons. They're usually a toy emote, but when the Splashdown LTM released, they were turned into a deadly weapon. That's not as weird as the day Fortnite removed an entire POI by accident. After a normal update, everyone jumped in to find Believer Beach and Holly Hedges had been wiped out. I'm not talking about destroyed either, they literally vanished. You might also remember the Octane collab, but did you know Rocket League put another car into Fortnite? During Llama Rama, there was a house on the island with a huge fan living there. You can find posters, trophies, and a one-of-a-kind Whiplash Super Circuit. If you don't remember it, you probably also missed out on a free battle pass. At the end of Season 7, the Share the Love event gave out some Valentine's rewards, and to compete with the launch of Apex Legends, they did something insane by giving Season 8's battle pass to everyone for free. But who remembers the time Fortnite forced you outside to earn V-Bucks? In Season 5, they added PCB challenges where you could earn battle stars, an exclusive contrail, and 350 V-Bucks. All you had to do was some simple quests. Seems easy, right? Well, there was one problem. They had to be completed at PCB computer cafes, which are in South Korea. Even that had more fans than people who remember Storm Destruction. This was only in the game for half a day, which isn't surprising when you find out what it did. If a match went on for too long, every build in the Storm was deleted and completely ruined endgames. As for the fireworks flare gun, you probably remembered this as a Chapter 3 weapon, but for OG players, it's even more familiar. Epic actually did this in 2018 for July 4th by reskinning the grenade launcher to shoot fireworks. It wasn't that impressive because hardly anyone noticed. In Chapter 1, there was a structure that couldn't be destroyed. When the cube first arrived, it crushed this innocent HUD, but that wasn't the end of its story. Over the weeks and months, it slowly rebuilt, this time with upgrades. All of this just for the black hole to take it all away again. At least it returned as a coffee shop. These mini map changes are always forgotten about, and the same can be said for the meeting. North of Wailing Woods, you could find a scarecrow, teddy bear, and gargoyle sitting in a circle. It's always pretty creepy, but they got wiped out when the volcano arrived. I'll admit, nothing's worse than forgetting about a mythic item while it's still in the game. A lot of people dislike the Primal season, but one thing everyone can agree on is how useless the Spire jump boots were. They let you double jump and glide, but the real problem was how you got them. You had to defeat a Spire Guardian across the map, then carry the orb to the main tower just to waste an inventory slot. I mean, no wonder they were hated. Sometimes Epic just likes to experiment with things, and that's why you probably don't remember the Teams of 12 LTM. Yeah, this was actually a thing and worked like 50v50, but instead of 2 teams, there were 8 of them. They even made other versions like Teams of 20 and 33, but they must have not been popular because they never returned. The same can be said about gliding. Epic tested a feature in Season 6 that gave everyone unlimited glider redeploy in all modes. It made mobility a lot easier and encouraged more fights, but after the test ended, they decided it was too much and tried it as an item instead. Of course, that didn't last long either. You also had to be in the item shop over 1,500 days ago to pick up the rarest back bling. The buckle bundle was only sold 3 times in Fortnite history and hasn't been seen since 2018. We also never saw the return of Renegade Raider's secret item. Back in Season 3, the servers went out for over 24 hours, and the Rust Bucket backbling was given to players for 0 V-Bucks. You probably didn't realize that it's not the only backbling for Rust Lord, but Renegade Raider as well. Now let's flip the script. Epic also promised us a storyline trailer every month, but I guess forgot about it. When Burning Wolf was introduced with the first shadows, he came with his own special animated trailer and revealed Midas's clear voice. We were told there would be more for the others, but we never saw anything come of it, and they even deleted the video a few days later. That was 3 hours of Fortnite facts. I think it's time to go to bed now. It's been Tommy, and keep it here on Top 5 Gaming.